Hi, Robert. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How about yourself?
Good. Pretty good. Hi, everyone. All right, I'm letting everyone in. Meanwhile, go ahead, everyone, go to the chat and give me a little aloha or whatever way you want to greet the day. Here we go. All right. Hey, Brissa, were you able to create your pipeline account?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I needed to call. I called them and then I changed the email too.
You changed it to the new email. Perfect.
Yeah.
Good. And were you able to sign into VDI?
Yes, I was working on it.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
you're getting going. I'll normally I want everyone to be ready to go, but knowing that there are you and another person who I hope is going to join us because we had trouble communicating, we're still going to need to connect today for the first time, so I'm just going to do it really quickly. Natalia, you can't hear us.
What is hanging up there? A donkey?
Hear what I am saying. Natalia is saying that she can't hear us. Everyone else can hear me fine, right? Yeah. Try reconnecting, I'm going to say. And sometimes when there are problems with the audio, the only option is to completely turn off your computer and restart, and then Zoom's audio gets fixed. Okay, so I don't know.
Oh, I can hear now.
Oh, you can hear us now. Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys, the only now and then Zoom has an audio issue where, and it's happened maybe 3 to 4 times in the 2 years I've been teaching on Zoom. So it's not often, but now and then the audio just doesn't want to cooperate. And in case I'm not around when this happens to you, a solution tends to be to completely turn off all your applications, completely close down your computer and restart, and the whole audio and all of those settings kind of reset themselves. It happened to me last week for the first time in many moons, but anyway, but I guess that wasn't necessary because it looks like it's working for you. So good.
Yeah. And can you test share screen?
Can I share my screen or can you share your?
Remember it was black.
It was
you.
black. Yeah, go ahead and test. Go ahead and share your
Okay.
screen and let's see what's happening.
Let's see.
Yay, I can see your screen now.
Okay, what do you see? College buys?
I see college buys, yes.
Okay, that's my other question. I bought 12-month subscription and I can't find it.
Okay, so you need to go to your pipeline email. And
it's not there yet. Maybe it just.
I did say it might take a day or two. Yeah.
Oh
but,
my gosh. Okay, got it. Okay.
But not always. It might be that that's not it. Did you make sure you wrote the correct email, like pipeline.sbcc.edu, you know? Okay, so if so, just wait another day. When did you buy it?
Today.
Today, yeah. So they need to do this kind of confirmation that you're a student, that the price, the whatever. So if you bought it today, it might not come in until tomorrow or maybe even the day after, but but not today, or yeah, because especially because it's a system that only works if you're a student, so they need to check in with the school. You know, it takes a few steps for it to work. All right.
All right.
Okay, so well, I'm glad you're that you're there, that you're that near. So I just wanted to say that I am going to share my screen for a second. I am already connected here to VDI. but I'm gonna go ahead and do one more quick connection to VDI, in part because, for example, Natalia, if you don't have your own setup, I want you to set it up today. And Brissa and a couple of other people are gonna be needing it. So let me show you again. But first I need to disconnect correctly. Now, the only thing that I want to repeat to people that we need to be clear is that before you disconnect, you always need to disconnect from Google Drive. And so how to disconnect from Google Drive is what we should do at the end of the class. But since I'm already connected, I'm going to disconnect now and show you how. You click here on this little Google Drive that shows up. If it says sign in, that's good. That means that you still have to sign in. That means that you have disconnected already. But if not, you need to go through the steps of disconnecting. Now I can go to power here on the bottom left and shut down and then disconnect. So that the steps of disconnecting and connecting have to happen. Otherwise, when we access our files, we're going to end up having corrupted files. So here now is disconnecting from VDI. You go over to this little icon there and say log out. So that's the disconnection, which is great. Now, for those of you who need to connect, okay, so for tonight, Natalia, Brissa, who else here was on VDI? Probably one or two people who are coming in a bit later. Jean, are you on your own application or are you on VDI?
I have the program now.
You have your own now, okay. Because, you know, in the past, people who were on VDI have slowly been getting it. So I need to still be clear who is where. I'm sorry, I am really thirsty today. I've been drinking water all day, but I'm still really thirsty. So you're gonna see me. And when I speak, my mouth gets dry. So Natalia, can you head over? Basically, here's the vmview.svcc.edu. I just put the link in the chat. So you can just go click on that link. Brissa, you too, please connect to this page on a browser. Okay,
Yes.
you're
and
there.
then-
Natalia, are you gonna be
Okay.
able to connect? I know you
Yes.
said you might be in and out. You emailed me, I just read your email, but go
Yeah.
ahead and get connected and do your best. And if
Okay.
you can find and not, so that you have a chance to do some practice. So then click here. If you're gonna keep doing this, keep connecting to VDI, then go ahead and check this so that you don't have to do this step every time. But I'm gonna keep doing it because I need to show it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna click on that, and then here you will have only the student desktop, connect to the student desktop. And this is the little portion of time where it just takes, goes blue and whatever, and it takes a little bit of time. Right, so while this is connecting, I want to show you guys the Padlet, which I had right here, but I seem to have, let me go back. I seem to have gone, I have used the same tab for something. I'm gonna go to the tablet. By the way, I'm putting the Padlet in the chat so you guys have it again. I've sent it to you an email a few times, quite a few times, but I keep wanting to make sure you guys know. And I see that about 4 or 5 of you guys have put something in the Padlet, which is great, but don't forget that I want everyone to do it as of today. Okay, so I like how you seem to have left this little guy floating with this little bottle. That's pretty cool. So you did a little cutout of the feature in Photoshop, and then the rest of you are just like practicing, which is what I told you to do the other day. So that's good. Now today, as we start working with the applications, every now and then when we get to a place when I say, okay, I might forget to remind you to do a screenshot. So if one of you guys remembers, speak it out loud and go, oh, should I screenshot this or something like that? Like whenever you find a figure, just once or twice during the class, when we get to a place where I can then see that you are following with the work. So if the application is open, an open blank application doesn't help me, but if you create something on screen, which we'll be creating today, just do a little screenshot of that and post it up here so I can keep track of what you're doing. Does that make sense? So the link is here in the chat again, and when I request everyone to post, you can go ahead and I'll repost the link. Okay, so anyway, here we are back to VMware. The most important thing is to get to this blank sign in with Google Drive. And so I'm going to go ahead and say sign in with browser. And here we need to put in your entire pipeline me email address. Pipeline.sbcc.edu. Edu. Okay, so that little portion there has to be there. And then say next.
Diana,
Yeah.
is it the download, like what is that? VMware Horizon client for Mac OS?
If you're not going to be using it because you've bought the computer, then don't download VMware. You don't need
Okay.
to. Just go on the right side where it says HTML. Click on the right side of it.
Yeah, I thought okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what, okay, here.
Do you want to share your screen so I can see what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay, let me stop my
Okay,
share.
so yeah, I did this. Is it, oh, wait a minute. Is it client?
Go
Okay.
ahead and share your screen so that I can know what you're asking.
Can you see?
No, go ahead and share it. I was sharing mine. I had to stop my share before you can share. So do
Okay.
your share.
Let's see, share. Oh, okay.
Okay, so say okay to that.
Oh,
Every-
it says error, you're not.
Yeah, go ahead and say okay. Say okay.
Okay.
Click on okay. Yeah, and then it usually makes you do it twice for some strange reason. I don't know why. So go
Okay.
ahead and say okay again.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I'm seeing. Wow, how many times? Click again. Wonder what. Usually it asks me to do that twice, but you are still. Why don't you close this tab and open a new tab and go in again, because that's, you need to see if maybe you didn't put in the right email address. Who knows? Okay, go ahead and go in again. Make a new tab. No, not
you
not
can-
a Zoom. Go back. Go back here, make a new tab. Yeah. Mhm. And now say vmview.sbcc.edu. I mean, there it is, it's written. You can just hit enter. No, not there, not there, not there. At the top, yeah, because you need the entire address. It's like you've already signed in once and it remembers your sign in and it's going to maybe to the wrong email. So it says that maybe you didn't write the whole pipeline email right. And so it says, no, you're not. So somehow you need to go past the memorized password. The fact
Okay.
that it's already signing you in.
Okay. I'll try to figure out on the background. I'll listen to.
Yeah.
Okay.
This to me sounds like you tried to sign in, like you did that portion and you put in the wrong email address. So it says, oh no, you can't sign in, but it's automatic. So your computer is remembering it. You're on Safari. Do you have Chrome or Firefox or something else on your computer?
No.
You
but
don't, you
I can
only have
get it.
Fire. You have to go and have your computer go to the passwords and eliminate the password for VMview so that when you
Okay.
get to this page, it doesn't automatically sign you in and then re-sign
Okay.
in because it's remembering the wrong email. And so it's saying, no, your system, whatever email you're
Okay.
giving them isn't.
All right. I'll do that. So I'm gonna get out of your picture.
So go up to Safari preferences. Go up to
Okay.
where it says Safari, go to preferences and go find the passwords. Or you can also go to your keychain. Look for your computer keychain and sign in and look for VMware and delete that password. All right. Okay. So I'm sharing my screen again. And hi, everyone's back. No one is here today that wasn't here the other day. So that wasn't here on Tuesday, which means some people who signed up aren't going to show up. So that's the way it is. So we have, this is our group. That's nice to know that everyone has been through the first class. So that's really great. So we can move forward. Now, last week I asked you to have Bridge ready to go and open. So I'm going to go ahead and open my Bridge. And when I do that in PDI, I will find the files in in Google Drive. But let me just remember, Brisa, you didn't get to do this before. So go up here to the start menu, and that's where you'll find Bridge to open it up. Okay.
Oh yeah, thank you. I have a question.
Yeah.
So you did something like login in the the website and say something about make sure that you download this app from Google. And then it's like don't sign to Google Drive for desktop unless you're sure you're
I think
this
so.
app.
Go ahead. You know
I-
what? Why don't you share your screen? It's usually better to do that. And since you didn't get to share your screen the other days, it's good for you to prepare how to do
Oh,
it.
how I do that?
Do you have a Mac or a PC?
SPC.
Okay, so go to the big button that says share screen, the big green one in the Zoom.
Mm,
Do you see? Yeah, perfect. So go ahead and go to the sign in. Mhm.
okay, that was
Yeah.
my question.
Yeah, it's 2 steps and then it'll, oh, can't reach the page. Why is that? Go backwards one. Go up to the arrow, back arrow.
Oh, it's
Yeah, but it says it's not connected. Go back one anyway.
Like
Just to
this?
see, yeah, to make sure that you put the right, yeah. Go ahead and go back again. We need to, if not, we need to go and click in on the sign in. Oh, because you're B Chavez Toros at Pipeline CDU. So is that correct? Is that your pipeline account?
Yes.
It seems like a long.
Shall I click?
B Chavez Torres. I'm just double checking yet on my roster. Yeah, that is correct. Huh. Okay, so try again. Go down at the bottom and say sign in again. Scroll down and say sign in. It's possible because you just created your pipeline account a few minutes ago, like before class, that maybe
Yes.
it's still not completely created. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That it's created, but you might not have it set up yet. So
So I just need to wait until.
I guess so. Go ahead and close this window. Yeah, that one. Mhm. And then go down to that little arrow at the bottom right, where I said the bottom right, go to under where it says user, go all the way to the right. Oh, bottom,
the
bottom,
right.
bottom, mouse all the way to the bottom. Down, 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 down. Yep. And now to the left, that little arrow, one more to the left, there. And go click on Google Drive over there. See if that little tiny icon of Google, which is the one on the right side. Yeah, that one. Click on that. And let's see if it lets you sign in from here. Try one more time. And then sign in. And if not, it could be because Brianna,
Success.
Brisa, there, good. Cool. So that means you're signed in. So you get the most, say not now at the bottom. At the bottom where it says open person, say not now, and then say okay. Good. And now close that window. All right.
All done.
Perfect. There you go. And now go open Bridge. Yeah, that one. Mhm.
That's it.
Cool.
It takes a while.
And yeah, the first time. And then, okay, so now on the left side, go to the word this PC. Yeah, right above where your name is. Go down, down, down. A bit further down. Yeah, whoop, 2 up now. Right above your name, it'll say this PC. Yeah, there, 1 up, this PC. I think you clicked on your name. You need to go up to this PC. Oh, say
Close?
close. Mhm.
I already did it, but it takes a while to.
Yeah, close. And then it's the first. Now you need to sign into go up to at the very top and put in your entire Brianna, the whole pipeline email address again. This is the first time that you go to, or not Brianna, Brisa. At pipeline.sbcc.edu. BCC, SBCC, you have an extra C. You have SCBB, so SBCC.
Yes.
So
SBB.
go get rid of all 4 because it's SB Santa Barbara City College. So SBCC. Put a B in between the.
Yeah. It's SVZZ.
Yeah, there we go. Dot. Yeah, you forgot the dot right now. Dot edu. So right before SBCC, there's a dot, or is there a dot?
Yes, it is a dot.
Is there? Okay, then say
ZZ
continue.
and dot. Okay.
Dot edu. Cool. And that's it. Now you're done. You don't have to do this again. That's just allowing you to use all the Adobe applications. All right, and now on the left side, go up to this PC, right? One above your name, one up. Yeah. Perfect. And now you can sign into Google Drive, which is like the 5th icon in, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, double click on Google Drive. Cool. Double click on that. Then double click on shared drives. And now double click on Digital Design Techniques. And okay, so I'm hoping everyone by now is accessing their files the way I'm leading Brisa to do. And up at the very top, see how a little folder appeared, the first one, download, double click on that one. And cool. So now it'll take a few seconds and then this is it. These are the class files. Great. So you're in the right place. So I'm going to stop your share. And I'm assuming unless anyone has a question, that everyone else is here. So if you're not here and you need help getting here, let me know. Otherwise, if you're here, give me a big old yes, so I know that we can move forward.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And I'm getting yeses from a few people, no's from a few others. So Robert, how can I help you get to the class files?
Well, we can start right now.
Whoa. So go ahead and share your screen to see. You downloaded the class files the other day, I know.
I did.
Yeah. So on the left side, oh, I forgot to do with Brisa is to give her the shortcut, to make her do the shortcut. So Robert, can you share your screen? I want to make sure that you got your shortcut. All right. So here I'm going to do, and you, Brisa, I didn't show you how to do this, but I showed everyone in class how to do this. So I'm going to show it to Robert now. Robert, you must have the sound on your second computer, which we're getting this this sound issue.
I have it on
Well, I'm getting that kind of double
from my computer.
Well, from someone's computer. I don't know from whom.
I connected
anyway,
without audio on this.
without audio on yours. Okay,
Yeah.
so someone else who has two computers on, you need to have the sound disconnected on one of them. So anyway, we'll see. We'll figure out later who it is. All right. So Robert, go one up to the word computer on the left side. Yeah. Click on computer. Say yes. Okay. App would like access to your files. So you go ahead and say okay to that. Okay. And then now go ahead and double click your hard drive.
Oh, that's the wrong one.
Oh, whichever one is the hard drive that you use, Macintosh hard drive, probably. Yeah,
Yep.
that one. We'll click on that, say okay to that again. It first bridge your Mac computers, or try to make sure that you're using the right thing. So go all the way to the far right to the users. Yeah, and then Robert Pollock. Okay, and now go to your, I'm assuming you have it in your downloads. So go to your downloads. Double click there. Nope, it's not there. So where did you put the downloaded files?
I
Did you
went
move them
through and
somewhere?
I cleaned everything out. I
Mhm.
did housekeeping. I probably got rid of it and
You
didn't
think
even
you
know it.
did? Oh, no.
I have to go back to my email and download them, or
No, not to your email, to your, here, let's do this. I'm going to request remote control from your computer. See if you say okay to that. Did you see a message? Okay, so now don't use your mouse anymore. I'm going to go in and really quickly access the files. Which one do you use normally? Safari or Chrome? You have both here.
well, I don't, gosh, I think I used just regular Google.
Mm-hmm.
But-
Okay, so that would be Chrome. I don't know what you call
Yeah.
Google. But, okay, so let's open that and go get them really quickly. So yeah, looks like and your trash is empty, so you've emptied it, it would seem. So let's go to svcc.edu. SBCC pipeline. Log in. I'm just doing this. By the way, you guys, normally I don't do anything for you guys of the stuff that you need to learn, because that will never teach you anything, right? But in this case, I just want to quickly get him the file so we can move forward. So that's why I'm doing this, but it's not like I will do anything like this once we get to actual learning. Okay, download files. Okay, so they're downloading. Since we are on Zoom and you're sharing your screen, this might take a little bit of time because this process is slow. And when you're sharing your screen like this, it's slower. So what I'm going to do is the following. I'm going to head over to your downloads folder and I'm going to throw it in here. So now when this is done, oh, looks like it is done. That was quick. So let's see. Yeah, it's still downloading. There it is. So I'm going to let it finish downloading. And then, yeah, it's almost done downloading. So that's good. It's downloaded. Here you go. Let's double click. Expand. And here you go. Okay, so now I'm going to put it in here. So Brisa, this is what I wanted you to do. I want you to grab the folder that has the class files. So where I left you, you're already inside of the folder. You need to back up one until you get to that yellow folder and just drag it out here. So now all you need to do is open Bridge and click on here like I just did for him. So drag it to this thing and then you're in the class files. So now, Robert, you're ready to go.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to cose up the rest of your stuff so that you don't have all
So
these
I
other
have
things open. Here, let me close up this for him. Minimize it so it's open for your Padlet, and there you go. I'll show you. I'll share now in a minute, but let me share my screen so we can keep going. Let me share my screen now. Here we go. So where I left you was in here where you have all the files. I see down here you're already, let me get the little mouse. Need to get the little color on my spot on my mouse so you can see it better. There we go. So up here you're in download class files, but if you back up one to this folder called Digital Design Techniques Shared Drive, that's the folder called download class files. You can grab this and drag it down here. Right here under favorites, it says drag photos here or something like that. Drag to add to favorites. Or I think it says something like that. So just drag it down like that. And then you don't have to search for it. Every time you open, you just click in here and you're in the perfect spot. You're in the class files. It's just a way to create a quick access to it. All right. And you don't have to create that quick access. It just ends up being easier to then move around with that ready to go. All right, so at this point, no one else has said no. Yes, Joan?
Ooh, is that me?
Yeah.
Can you hear the echo?
Yeah, I think you're the one who has the sound on both computers.
I don't know how to.
Okay. Okay.
God.
All right, so don't speak anymore. Don't speak, because that causes that whole issue. Let me tell you what to do, Joan.
Yeah, I don't know how to turn the sound off on one
I know,
machine.
but I'm trying to get you to hear me so I can tell you how to do it.
I can hear you now.
Okay, so go to one of your two machines.
Okay.
Go to your Zoom.
Okay.
And then on the bottom left of all your icons is the little microphone, right? And so the little mute button. Right next to that mute there's a little tiny arrow. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, go to that arrow. And then from the bottom up, the second choice is leave computer audio. So leave computer audio on one of your two computers. All right. And that, if that worked, then good. But I still see audio connected on both of them. Because it's not about muting it, it's about leaving the audio from one of them. All right, go ahead and speak again and let's see if it works now. Well, I can't hear you, so maybe you're muted on your other one. So if you're speaking, I can't hear you. You might be muted on the one that you left on. So go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, sorry. Okay, now
There you
I'm
go.
muted.
There you go. So now you're
so I'm
unmuted.
wondering-
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, I don't see where you said favorite. I can't find the favorites.
Okay, so here on the left side, see where my mouse is? Right here, it
Yes.
says favorites. This tab says favorites. Do you see a
Oh, I
tab that
see.
says right there? So you can grab the folder with all of the files, like the main one, and just drag it here and create a quick little link that lets you access the files quickly.
Okay. So I'm not able to drag it for some reason.
Do you want to share your screen to show me?
Okay. just a minute.
No, when you say yes, I can stop my share. You can't just share when
Yes,
I'm sharing.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead now. I stopped it.
Let's share.
All right, so there it is. Oh, you already did it. See on the left
Oh,
side where it says
oh.
favor, you already have it there. So click on
Already
that
have
folder.
it. Okay.
Yeah,
All
click on
right.
that folder.
Great, thank you.
Just click on it and no, but click on it so you can get to the files. Yeah.
Well, I'm already,
Oh, did you move it from your downloads? Did you put it somewhere else?
oh gosh, well, I have it.
Well, you have it
I-
there. Grab it. I see it. Grab it and drag it back out.
Is it this one?
Yeah,
this-
it looks like you did it twice. Looks like it's the
Yeah,
same
because I
one.
made a copy.
Okay, so drag it out and put it out in there. Yeah, keep going. Put it under
Mhm.
where you saw, no, to the left, under the word pictures. So drag it out to under the word pictures. So move to the left
yeah.
and leave it there. Yeah, cool. Now click on it.
Yeah.
And cool, there you are. Now you're
Thank
at the
you.
files. You're welcome. Okay, great. So does everyone have the files now? Okay, I'm gonna clear your feedback. And if someone still doesn't have the files, let me know, but good. All right. Let's share again my screen. There I go. All right, good. Let me get to mine. Here we go. All right, so remember how we talked about the fact that through Bridge, you can have files of all different types and kinds. And depending on what that file is, it'll kick open whatever application needs to be used, right? Yeah, I get you, Natalia. I'm not sure what to do about that connection that you have. Well, I told you, you need to basically have your computer and Keynote, your keychain. has to
Yeah,
pick up the
I'll have a
files.
whole weekend to catch up and watch again recordings
Okay.
and make sure that everything works, you know.
Okay, all right. Okay, so over here, the second folder on the top is called file formats. So we're gonna go in there in a minute, but just even here, these photos, these images that we see in here, you can see that have many different formats. And when I talk about formats, I'm talking about the little extension at the end of each one of the names. It will tell us what kind of file it is. So in this case, I have a .jpeg right there, or a .svg, or a .ai, or a .psd. Okay, so these are all different file formats. Now, a JPEG file is going to be based on pixels, and so it's going to be a photograph. So a photograph, it could be a photograph of an oil painting, right? So, but it's still a photograph, right? So it will always open inside of Photoshop, because that is where we're going to be doing any editing of photography. Okay. So even though I don't have any other application open right now, if I decide to open this by double clicking, don't do it yet. But if I do double click this, it will kick open the application of Photoshop. If I go to this next one, which is SVG, or this one, which is AI, they look like they're the same material, right? Or very similar. This is created in AI, which is Adobe Illustrator. The .ai is extension for Adobe Illustrator. It's been saved as an SVG file, which is a vector. These are both vector files, and these are going to be AI is something that you can use for creating the Adobe Illustrator. Create the file there. You can put it inside of InDesign to print. But if you're going to go to the internet and post this as an internet file, it would be good to save it as an SVG. So that's the exported document from the original where you create it. You export it as an SVG to post a vector file onto the internet. Okay. On the other hand, the fourth file that we see over here is a .psd, which stands for Photoshop document. So Photoshop document in AI are the two, what were called the native file formats. Okay. Native file formats, meaning .ai means .adobe Illustrator, PSD is .photoshop document. So this is the native format just for Photoshop, meaning if you try to open a PSD file in any other application, it won't open. It needs Photoshop to work. And AI needs Illustrator to work. Does that make sense? Versus SVG or JPEG are export kind of documents, and they are documents that are made in a format that many other applications can access and open, right? And so the native files need the applications. You can't open a PSD. Well, there are some applications that can open a PSD, but they're very few and far between. I believe one or two only, other than Photoshop. So if you're going to send this file, say, to your mom, because it's your son, and she doesn't have Photoshop, she won't be able to open it. So you'll have to finish this file, correct it, and then export it as a JPEG to send to your mom. Does that make sense? So that export, there's some of these are the ones where we create all our work in, and others the ones that we export to make them usable for the rest of the world. So the other file that's native format here is the INDD, which in this case, this one down here is an INDD, Creek Poster Final.INDD, for example. That's InDesign document, okay, InDesign document. That's the INDD, all right? So again, you will not be able to open an INDD on anything other than InDesign. When you are done working with InDesign and you're ready, say, to send it to someone or to print it or whatever, you will have to save it as, for example, a PDF or whatever. We're going to be researching all of the different things that we'll be doing it. So those are our three native file formats, the INDD, AI, and PSD. But if I were to double click on an SVG, Bridge knows to open Illustrator. If I double click on a JPEG, Illustrator knows to use Photoshop, but because it knows that these are the formats you export from. All right. Versus if you were doing this from like the browser, the Finder, or the computer, the Windows export, they wouldn't know to open the right applications. They would just not know what to do with the Adobe one. So that's why Bridge is a good place to open things from. All right. Another document that we have here that's both native format and not is down here where we have lorem, there's these W's down here. This one says lorem ipsum dolor sit whatever, and it's got a W .rtf, which is rich text format. And then this over here says lorem .doc, which I'm surprised I brought such an old one. DOC is so old that isn't even DOCX, but anyway, down here. And so this would be a Word document from Microsoft Word, Office Word, which if at home you don't have this, if you don't have Word in your computer, and say that your client gives you a document there, they wrote the words for the brochure in Word, and you want to import them into your document, you might not be able to do that. So instead, say that you don't own Microsoft Office, the default kind of setting that you should get text from your client in is, or send it to people, is RTF, rich text format, which just about every word processor in the world can open an RTF. So this is kind of like the common RTF, can be opened by every kind of version of word processor, including Google Docs, including, if you're a Mac person, Pages. But a DOC will only be opened by Microsoft Office Word. Okay, so it's important to understand that where you get things from clients or friends who want, asking you, hey, I know you know how to use your computer, can you help me make this invitation? Or if you're actually doing this for work, you need to understand that there's different possible kinds of files that are going to be usable. Here we have a PNG. Here we have another PNG. So we're going to start learning a bit more about all of these. Let's double click on this word file formats, double click on file formats, and we go into a place where I have some more files. They take a little bit of time to appear. I don't know why my mouth is so dry today, no matter what I know how much I drink, I'm still dry. All right, so here I am inside of file formats. And there's a couple more that I had that I didn't have on the outside, which is, again, here's the PNG. Here's a GIF or GIF or GIF, depending. There's a lot of controversy on how to pronounce that one. And then here you have a TIF or a TIFF file. Okay, so and then EPS up here. So you're probably going to be seeing a lot of these kind of files coming at you from others to use, or you're going to be making them yourselves. So just know that everything that you see here, I'm going to create a little whiteboard and share it with you. Let me stop my share to create that whiteboard. Okay, so that whiteboard is hiding from me. Hold on one second. I have so many different screens that, here we go. My tools, my whiteboard tools have disappeared. Here they are. They were hiding under you guys. There you go. Okay, so the native formats. Would be for Photoshop is .psd, Illustrator is .ai, and in Design is INDD. Okay, and export or output formats would be, for example, .jpeg, and I'm going to talk about that because it's also an input format. But anyway, .jpeg is one of the most well-knowns, but you could also from Photoshop end up using .png mainly. So this is from Photoshop. You might end up exporting JPEGs, PNGs, or PDFs, which is portable document format. And this one, so this one might be used, I hit one. This is hard to write inside of, for some reason, writing inside of a whiteboard tends to be very complicated. I don't know why it does that. Doesn't let me. I wanted to just write inside of the same one, but it's not letting me. Okay, it's not going to let me, so I'm going to have to invent a new one. JPEG is to publish a photo on the web. To publish, wow. publish a photo on the web that has transparency, a photo / image, because it could be a logo. It has transparency. And a PDF would be to send to print. For example, to a digital printer, for example, you know, is one example of sending something to print. Now, when I say to a digital printer, it's possible that we're talking your own printer on your from your own house can print from anything, but maybe you're sending it to Vistaprint or, you know, one of those places online that you need to have something printed, and those would be digital printers. We're going to talk about the different kind of printings that we can make. So these are typical export formats. Okay. Then there's from Illustrator. You might create an SVG to post online. Here I said to post online. Before I said to publish on the web. That means exactly the same thing. Okay, to post something online or to publish on the web means the same thing. So remember that these are going to be vector files. Let me actually go up here, Illustrator, Photoshop, PSD. These are going to be pixel or raster format, this is called. Anything from Photoshop. So yeah, I'm going to save this and you can have this. This is the Photoshop or pixel or raster kind of images. We're going to explore that in a minute. And then Illustrator files are vector format. So remember that this here from Photoshop means that this, I can see why I couldn't touch it. Oh, I see why, because I was having things overlapping each other. Now I understand why I wasn't able to write it. Okay, an SVG to post online. You could end up maybe needing to export an EPS, although that's an older format, but for creating die cut lines, for example, which is say that you want to print something, but you want the printer to cut, you know, say that you create a stationery, and instead of having it be a square, a greeting card, that you want it to have a cutout. So that's what a die cut line is, okay? And you want to cut something out to have some shape. And you know, we're not actually going to get as far as creating die cut lines, but that would be a typical example of using EPS. Or if you want to put some glitter or some foil or some extra kind of stuff, you would be having to create EPS kind of files. So this is for print to cut out shapes, etc. Okay. There's a question there from Joan. Yeah. I don't know why I'm.
Yes. So I wanted to know, what does SVG mean and what does EPS mean? And for
SVG is something vector graphics. I don't remember what the S stands for. And EPS is encapsulated postscript. What is S for the SVG? I don't remember what the S for the SVG is. You can look it up. No one ever says anything other than SVG or PDF or that stuff, but what they are. But yeah, it's something vector graphics. I don't remember. Someone who has a minute to just Google it, go ahead and Google what does SVG stand for. Like JPEG is Joint Photographers Group. And that's what a JPEG is, and you know, PNG, stuff like that. So it doesn't really matter too much, but in the sense that what matters is to know what they do. But yeah, go ahead and look it up. So this is an example of what you would do. There's very few times that you would create any other kind of export. And then from InDesign, you would The last one here, let me put the text again, from InDesign. Which is where you're going to, which is a layout application. Should I put that up on top? Go ahead and put that up on top. And then from InDesign, you might end up, come on, give me from, I hate when it's not letting me. You might export as a .pdf mostly, okay? Or print, or for posting online, or interactive PDF. There's so many different formats of so there's many different versions. So we're going to be talking about which ones are. Now, you can import in PDF. A PDF is the document that many places are going to ask you to create from InDesign, but you can import to InDesign many different formats. So InDesign is a layout application, right? So it is going to collect from you in InDesign okay? So basically InDesign is the place where everything that you've created and all these other applications, I don't, these whiteboards drive me crazy. I'm just trying to select it now to move this and it just won't. There we go. So in InDesign, we're going to bring in your Adobe Illustrator files, your Photoshop files, your JPEGs, your PNGs, whatever it is that you have. And import. And then okay, so in InDesign, we put all the stuff together and then we create our output file for the final piece. Does that make sense, you guys? I'm going to send you this, but you can also take a screenshot of this right now for your, for your own sake so that you can use it, or I'm going to save it. And in fact, I'm going to save it and put it in the Digital Design Techniques files so that you can access it. There it is. So right now it's this document I have just put in our class handouts. Okay, so that you can access it later, or you can just take a picture of it right now. Any questions about this? We're going to practice with what these are and how to import, how to export, what it means to have them all. But the main question here that remains is the JPEG, which is probably the format that most of you know most, if at all, because when you take a picture, be it on your, if you have a camera, be it DSLR, or if you have a phone, when you take a picture, those photos that you take are going to be saved automatically as JPEGs. Okay, so that photo that gets saved as a JPEG is, here I'm calling it as an export format. From Photoshop, you export as a JPEG, but you could also import into Photoshop a JPEG. Okay, so like when you need to start and open Photoshop and begin to use it, you would want to open up a JPEG, right? And so you open it as a JPEG, you save it as a PSD while you work on it, and then you export it again as a JPEG, okay? So that's, let me spend one more minute here in another box. It should be on a new whiteboard. So I'm actually going to close this one because that's the end of that one. I'm going to make one more whiteboard with that one more bit of text, and then we're going to be done, because that's what we're going to do first. Oh, it's giving me the same whiteboard. I'm going to create me a new bio. There's a new thing in Zoom that you can create a new whiteboard, but I don't know how to create that new whiteboard. So I'm going to go with the same one. So I'm going to just write it up here in another box. I'm going to write photos get saved as .jpegs, and you open in Photoshop. Then you work on it and save it as a .psd, a .photoshop document. And when you send it out again, you export again as a .jpeg. Okay, so it's kind of like a back and forth process. It goes from Photoshop, from JPEG to Photoshop to JPEG again. So this is a separate thing. And of course, there's a typo in that, and I can't fix it because it's inaccessible to me now. Never mind. You guys get the message. All right. I'm going to save that one again, and then I'll save that one and put it up placed. All right. Any questions about this other than just doing it as we speak? All right. So now I'm going to actually.
We have a couple
Yeah.
of our hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry. I looked and I saw Joan. There we go. Apologize. Go ahead and tell me your question.
Okay, so my question is, if I have a line art drawing, like a
Mhm.
hand-drawn line art on a piece
Mhm.
of paper,
Mhm.
and I import that into InDesign or Illustrator,
Mhm.
can I work on it from there? Can I like modify that line art?
Yeah. You asked me, I believe, in an email, right?
No.
Was it you? Oh no, someone else asked me. Yeah. I'm sorry. I made the assumption that it was you because someone asked me that exact same question.
Oh.
So I apologize, but yes. So say that you have drawn something by hand and you have to bring it in, right, into a digital format.
Yep.
You need to scan it in or photograph it, right?
As what
So-
kind of file?
Yeah. So if you photograph it, it'll probably end up as a JPEG because that's what photographs are. Unless you have a camera that's capable of taking raw photos. And we're going to talk about raw photos later, but I didn't even want to bring that into the picture. But for the most part, 99% of cameras save as JPEGs. So you can either photograph it, maybe something you wrote on a piece of paper, maybe something you created, like I said, an oil painting or a sculpture, but you need to digitize it. So either you photograph it, it turns into a photograph as a .jpeg, or you can scan it with a scanner. And scanners tend to save files as TIFFs. So this one down here. So scanners send them as TIFFs, but both of them, whichever one you do, be it a JPEG or a TIFF, is going to be, guess what? A pixel or raster format. Okay. So it's equivalent to something that will be worked on in Photoshop. Okay. So a TIFF file or which is typically what comes out of a scanner, or a JPEG, which is what comes out of a camera, is what's going to be that file that you just scanned. And we're going to bring it into either Photoshop or Illustrator to turn into whatever you want to do next, depending on what you want to do next. Okay. So I'm looking here at your questions. What's an EPS, encapsulated PostScript file? Is that what you're asking, Jean? By what is
Answered
it?
that one
And
already.
then can you import a line sketch into Illustrator Design work from the drawing? Yes, you can. How do you do a screenshot on a Mac? Okay. I'm looking at all the questions. So a screenshot on a Mac, you hold down the Shift, Command, and 4. And then there you go. Okay, perfect. You found that. All right. So when you end up with that art, that line sketch, okay, you need to decide what you want to do with it. So maybe what you want to do is create, make it look like it's a painting full of colors and depth and texture, and fine. That's one thing you would do with it. Or maybe what you want to do is turn it into a very stylized logo with clean lines. Then you would work on that in Illustrator, right? So it depends on what you want to do with it, what you would do with that sketch. All right. So do you have an example of something that you're talking about, or is it was just a generic question, or is it a
I was thinking more like a logo that I could build layers with different colors behind it, and
Well, if it's going to be a logo, 99% of the time, you're going to want to do that in Illustrator. And again, it's a little bit about what the different formats can do. But let's go ahead and start opening some of these files and begin to distinguish between Illustrator and Photoshop. Let me just show you, by the way, that in here, in my handouts, which if you guys are just looking at the downloaded files, you don't have them, you have to go look at them in the folder here in the handouts. But there's a one file here called differences between, I'm going to double click on it, differences between Photoshop and Illustrator. So this is a pretty clear document that you might want to read. Again, it's the stuff I have in my handouts. In my handouts, there's a folder with the files that we're using for class, but all the other handouts are available for you. And that's one of them that you might want to read to understand a little bit. And then I have another one here that's PNG versus JPEG versus PDF. So this one here, if you double click, tells you a lot more about these 3 extensions, which are going to be some of the ones that we're going to use the most versus TIFF. So here you have a whole explanation. I'll keep explaining and talking to you about this as we go. But if you want reminders of what I'm saying and why you would use one or the other, then here you have material that I've set up for you to keep on learning or remind yourself of this kind of material. Okay. I also have one that I do want you guys to start reading now, because this matters for this class very much, which is this one called New Pixels Image Size and Resolution. So hopefully this one you guys read by next week. So this is homework. It's called New Pixels Image Size and Image Resolution in Photoshop. So I just put in the chat the name of the document. It's about 13 pages. So give it some time. Bring out a cup of coffee, sit with it and read it. And then when we talk about resolution, this won't be such a new conversation. I will explain it to you myself, but this will help you begin to understand resolution, because it's a very important concept when you're going to work with digital images. Okay. I have a couple of other handouts here about graphic file types. If you want to go further in, which talks about here's an EPA, AI, FDC, BMP. I have a ton of other types of graphic files if you want to keep reading about it. Back to here. For people who have VDI, so in this case, Brissa, you can see that all the files are here, but you wouldn't be able, you should still go in and get them through the pipeline account. Okay, not through Bridge, because, well, I guess you could read them through Bridge, but it's better to just use Bridge for the image files. All right. So Let's go ahead and open a JPEG. Okay, so the first one that we have right here doesn't have that much color. So I'm going to have us go to another one, which has a little bit more color. So head on down, and there's supposed to be an alphabetical order for most people. That's how they show up. But over here, there's one that has bright red. It's called High Pass Old Kettle. Notice that it's a .jpeg. Okay, so when we single click on it, which is what I just did over here, I'm seeing a lot of information. And I think I showed you this last week where, did I get to show you this? Where here you have a little preview of it? No. Now, notice that some of you might be seeing the preview and others might not, because when you first open Bridge, sometimes the word, this tab is showing you the publish. If so, go over here and click on the word preview, and then you'll see a little bigger preview right here. So when you click one time on an image, you get a whole bunch of information about the file down here. And by the way, Joan, I see your hand is up, but I think I've answered your question. I forgot to lower your hand. So if you know that I've answered your question, please lower it. But just in case I haven't, and if not, I see Jean's hand is up too. Oh, and yours is also lowered. Okay. There we go. I got distracted by the hands. So over here on the right side, we see a little bit of a bigger preview of the image. And then down here, we see a lot of numbers and information, which is called the metadata, which is information that gets attached to your photo from the moment you take the picture in your camera. Okay. So your camera tells you what zoom, what lens, what aperture, a lot of technical stuff from the camera, which unless you're a photographer, you might not care to investigate right now. It's already happened. It happened when the camera got taken. And over here, it's telling you information that really does matter to us right now, which is how many pixels the image has in its width and in its height. Okay, so this image has 1,277 pixels wide and 850 pixels tall. So now we're going to see what those pixels are, but those are the dimensions of the image. Okay, and with that information, here, partnered with a bunch of this other information. This is like a little summary, and here's an expanded version of that information. So it tells us the whole file name, what it was created in, when it was created, yada, yada, yada. So this photo was taken sometime in 2012, okay? Even the time, and that was recorded in the camera. It was modified at this time because that's when I put it in this folder, right? So that's why it's here, but that's the only information it has. This is the file size. This is the dimension in pixels, and this is the dimension in inches. It tells me that it's 17 by 11, almost 18 by 12 inches, which 18 by 12 inches, that's a pretty big image, right? In inches, you guys picture 18 by 12. The problem with this is that you should never, ever consider it to be a real number, because this number has to be paired with this number to be meaningful. They have to go hand in hand. So if this says, let's say basically 18 by 12 at 72 PPI, that is telling you that this is not possible to print it at that size, because in order to be able to print it that size, this number has to be at least 250, ideally 300 PPI, which is pixels per inch. So this we're going to spend more time on after you've read that handout that I've asked you to read as homework. You have a whole, week, or not a whole week, but from here until next Tuesday to read it. It'll explain a lot about resolution, and it'll begin to explain this to you. Once you've read that, then I can explain it to you with some grounding of information. So if you don't understand the whole handout, that's fine. Just read it anyway and absorb as much as you can. And then when I talk about it, you'll have that background and we'll understand why this is meaningless. If this were to turn into 300 PPI, which was ideal for photographs, then we might discover that this photo might only print out as a 1 by 2 inch image or something like that. It'll depend. It's like an inverse relationship. And we're going to work with that in Photoshop, and we're going to totally understand what it means, but we'll do that as of next week. Okay, so that's why it matters to look at a photo, because what if I'm opening this up to make it into a poster? Well, I first read the metadata and go, whoa, no, this is not going to work for a poster. Let me go find another photograph. So let's go click one time on this one here that says engagement. It's a couple more to the left. And when I read this one and I go over here and it says 1500 pixels by 2100 pixels, that's a lot more than before, right? So we have 1500 in width and 2100 in height. At already 300 PPI, the file is much bigger, as you can see. So when I head down here and it says dimension in inches, 300 PPI, dimension in inches 5 by 7, I can actually believe this number. Because this says 300 PPI, then yes, this truly can be printed as a 5 by 7 image. Okay, so this here is what we'll understand a bit more, and how do we alter it and what differences do we make. But as long as this number is between 250 and 300, then yes, we can know that that's the true number, and that's got many more pixels than before. And yes, we can print it at that. So now let's head back to this red high pass old kettle and double click on it. And when we double click on it, I'm going to do that right now, double click. What's happening is Bridge is calling up and going, what file should this open in? Oh, it's going to open in Photoshop. So it's going to open Photoshop for me. Okay. So go ahead and do that. And here it is. Photoshop is beginning to open because it's a JPEG. So everyone go ahead and do that. Now, say that you're trying to create, I read your survey answers, those of you who answered, and the kind of things you're trying to create. And so here actually wanted to show you a little bit the responses down here of what people want to create. Okay. So there's a whole bunch of information, and some of you just answered, I want to learn everything that you know. It wasn't in this class or something else. And I'm like, no, I can't teach you everything that I know, but I'd love to. I'd love to be able to regurgitate my brain onto yours. But I'll do my best. Okay. But it does say things here like publication signs, announcements. Some people just want to get some knowledge. Some want to just get better at the programs and stuff like that. If you have, so I can reach out back to you, those of you who have specific questions. So anyway, and some of you guys have been doing this for a long time and have a lot of material. Now, in this case, someone who owns a production company, it's very possible that, and I haven't checked yet who answered which, but whoever answered this one, it's possible that just because, oh, there it is. Just because you've been doing this for a while doesn't mean that you've been doing it, right? It's possible that someone's been doing it for you. And so understanding all of these issues that I'm talking about makes you a much better boss, so to say, and that you're able to know what's able to be done or not by others. And also you can do it yourself whenever you need to, right? Which is the request that has that happens to be here. So anyway, if you want to do all of this kind of material, website announcements, signs, publications, books, just about everything that got put in here, you're going to need a combination of all these programs and know when to use which. All right. Let me go back to this. So when we open an image, you want to first know what it's capable of, right? Because back to this thing, maybe you really fell in love with an image and you really want to use it for your signs, and you discover that it's good enough for your website, and you did all this work on your website, but you never noticed that that image that you invested so much time in is never going to be printable as a sign because it doesn't have enough material in it, enough pixels. enough information, right? So you want to start by checking out this photo in Bridge, and before you create your entire idea of what you want, and you start with one, know how possible it is to use this one image for the width and breadth of everything that you want to do. Okay. Anyway, so we double clicked and we opened at it in Photoshop. So does everyone have it open in Photoshop? Here we have it. If someone did not get it open, let me say no. Otherwise, I'll move forward. Why did this open in Camera Raw first? I do not know, because this is not a Camera Raw image, so it shouldn't have, unless you right clicked and said open in Camera Raw. Did you just double click on it? Is that all you did, John?
Yeah, I just double clicked on it.
Did you, I don't know, you might have your Bridge set up to open everything in Camera Raw. Let me just show you guys. There's a thing called Camera Raw that you would have to normally right click and say open in Camera Raw, for example, and I'm not going to explain right now what Camera Raw is, but otherwise it's a JPEG, and a JPEG would definitely not open in Camera Raw unless you do that. So I'm wondering if you have your Bridge set up with the preferences in such a way that it's doing that. We can talk about that later to see what's happening. But right now, if it is in Camera Raw, go ahead in the bottom and say open.
Yep, I did
Somewhere
that.
around here, and then you'll end up here. Okay. So here we are with a photograph that at this point, it's telling me, if I look down here, let me get my color on the tip of my mouse. Here we go. I always need a little bit of color on the tip of my mouse for you to see it better. Here you go. So if you go way down to the bottom left of your screen, do you see here that it says for me 100%? And for you, it might say something other than 100% depending on your screen. But down here, it's saying 100%. Okay. So that is telling me that this picture is being shown to me at its best possible resolution, depending on the monitor that I own. Okay, so it's appearing to me at its best possible light. If I see it right now looking in focus or out of focus or blurry or sharp, this is what truly is. So this number 100% is very important. If I'm looking at an image at anything other than 100%, I'll never be able to tell if it's good quality or not. So how do we look at it at other than 100%? Well, in this case, if I go to my keyboard, and the shortcuts that I'm showing you right now that I'm about to show you operate for Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. And in fact, for many other applications too. It's kind of one of those universal shortcuts. So put your mouse either on the control key if you're on Windows or on VDI, or put your hand on the command key if you're a Mac user. But a Mac user who's on VDI still needs to use control, and hold down the control key, and then go and look for the plus and minus signs that you have up there near the numbers. And if I go and start tapping the minus a few times, so right now my control key is held down and I go tap minus, 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 each time I tap minus, it becomes smaller and smaller. As it gets smaller down here, you can see now it says 16%. And if I tap the plus side, it gets bigger, 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 bigger. And as it gets bigger and bigger, down here it says 700%, but notice that it also gets what would seem to be blurrier, but in reality, what I'm getting is it's beginning to get pixelated. I'm beginning to see the pixels of this image. So I'm seeing that, Natalia, you had your hand up.
Well, I
now-
figured it out. You know, I was just the bottom bar where we have all the options to communicate with you.
Mhm.
It's kind of blocking what's on the bottom of your Photoshop screen, but I figure out that if I just don't idle with my mouse, my
Then
cursor,
it doesn't turn on.
you know, yeah. Okay, so that was it.
Yeah, otherwise you can try to,
I
again,
was trying to
minimize,
move it
move the screen
on
up a bit
top.
more.
Yeah. I thought maybe there is a way to put that bar up on top where
Yeah.
you have all your own tabs open, which we don't need to see really. So, but
Yeah. it's hard. Sometimes people have something hiding certain portions of the image with the zoom windows, but yeah, hopefully,
Uh-huh.
hopefully you can see
Mm.
down here your own. Otherwise, just look for it on your own. Point to
Yeah,
where I'm
practically
where I'm
just-
looking at, and then you can see it.
Yeah, if I don't touch my cursor,
Then it
all
goes dark.
goes away. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I just figured it
So
out.
now I'm keeping going up. I'm going Command or Control plus, 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 and I keep going up. And then if I want to scooch around this image to see, I can hold down the space bar and look at what happens when I hold down the space bar. My mouse turns into a little hand and I can click and drag my mouse around. Click and drag, and I'm holding down the space bar, and I can move my image around to see other parts of it. So right now I know that I got to the bottom of the spout of the kettle, and yet I'm at 6,400%. And all I'm seeing is the pixels. So these are those pixels I was talking about, and any image that is taken through either a camera or a scanner is a raster or pixel image. And I'm saying raster or pixel because we call it pixels, but a lot of people in the industry call it raster images. And so that's the word that you need to know. Means an image that's full of pixels. Now, pixels are square. Each pixel can only have one color. So when you want to show the shine of a kettle, or even when you want to show a very flat color. So I'm going to scroll around. I'm going to go Command minus a few times and Control minus and go Command. I'm holding down my space bar, okay, so that I can get to the red. The red was supposed to be just red on the wall, but look at how many colors of red these pixels are showing me. Tones of pink, tones of brown, tones of bright, tones of light. It takes many pixels to show me all of those texture in that red wall, all of that, stuff. So the more pixels my image has, the more information that image has, then it really only makes a difference in this case to how bigger it can print. Okay. You need a certain amount of pixels to exist in 1 inch worth of paper for this image to look really good. And that's the conversation that you're going to read it. That's what you're going to read about in the handout. But if you say that you have a photograph that's going to be 4 by 6, and I'm just not showing you a photograph right now, but imagine this is a little 4 by 6 paper pad, right? If 1 inch of this has to be showing me this photograph, and now I will show you a photograph. So for example, this little brochure here, right? So if this photo has to be about 4 by 6, then 1 inch worth, not 1 square inch, but one inch on its own, has to have about 300 of these pixels, just 1 inch. That's why pixels per inch, in order to show me that photo at full high quality. Okay. So if I want to see it looking nice and sharp, I need about 300 pixels to exist in that inch, minimum of 250. If I start having less than that, then the photo starts looking fuzzier and blurrier. As much as what we're looking at right now looks kind of fuzzy and blurrier, because if you put only 50 pixels in that inch, it's just not going to have enough definition to show me anything looking good enough, right? So as I kind of start going Command minus, 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 it's similar as if I were packing in more pixels per inch, making it look better and better until I'm really beginning to see the texture and all the details in the photographs, and then all the way down to 100%. And when I'm at 100%, that's equivalent to, in a print, 300 PPI. Yes, Vanessa, you have a question?
Yes. So I was like doing some, and then like a square. Can I share the?
You want to share your screen?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah, please. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Can you see?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you have you created a selection. Go ahead and hold down your control key and tap the letter D, and that'll go away. And then when I teach you how to do this, I'll show you, but go ahead and hold down your
Control D.
control
Yes.
Leave it down and then tap the letter D one time.
Yes.
Oh, it's not going away. All right, so then go up to the word select. Go up to the top where it says select. Yeah, now to the right. Yeah, click and then go to deselect, which the shortcut is Control D. Yeah, so
Deselect.
I need to teach you how to
okay.
do shortcuts. So if go back to that word that says select, go back to that word
Yeah.
that says select. Notice that deselect, go down again to deselect. Now that you don't have
Yeah.
anything selected, is great. On the right side, see how it says Control D?
Yes.
Go to the right. That's the shortcut. So for you guys, every time you need a shortcut that I'll be telling you, the control or the command or the option or the alt, you need to just hold them down, press it down. And then the D, you just tap on it one time. And that's how you operate a shortcut. Okay, you hold down control or command and then you tap whatever letter I'm telling you to tap. And then that would be equivalent to going there and deselecting. Okay, so now you can go ahead and go and command control minus to zoom out. Hold down your control key and then tap the minus to zoom out. There you go. And then since 100% is so important because it's really is the place where you want to be to tell how good or bad the photo is, go ahead and to get quickly to 100, go ahead and control plus to get out of 100% for a minute. Go ahead and say control. Okay, now to get to control to 100%, quickly, you can hold down the control key and tap the letter 1. Control 1. Boom. Then it jumps straight to 100%. Okay. Now, the other shortcut that you guys need to know is fill your screen. And that one is Control 0. So go ahead and hit Control and then tap the 0. And your image will fill the screen at least on one of its sides. So now you can see the entire image. Because if you look at your percentage right now, you're at like 81% or something like that. So when you are at 100%, you couldn't see your entire image. But when you want to see the entire image, then you have to go to Control 0. So go ahead and do Control 1 again to 100%. So you guys see how she's at 100%. This is how you need to see if the image is good, but you can't see the entire image. So when you want to see the entire image, you do Control 0. For some of you guys, depending on the resolution of your screen, it might make no difference because like for me, Control 0, if I actually do Control 0, the image begins to get pixelated. It's actually smaller. It all depends on what screen you own, right? Versus Control 1 makes it smaller versus for Brisa, Control 0 made it smaller and 100% made it bigger. So it just completely depends on your own screen. That's why it's not universal. Okay. So you need to know both of them. All right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, cool. So let me stop your share. Thank you for sharing. And let me move back to my screen and share. All right. So let's go ahead and a couple of the things I want to make sure that we're on the same space. When I started my Photoshop, my windows, my boxes might be looking a little bit different from yours. So what I want us all to do is to equalize the way our screen looks. So when we move over to the very far right, let me get my spotlight color mouse again. There we go. Then on the far right of my Photoshop screen, right above where you see these windows, you'll see a series of icons, which looks a little bit different depending on if you're a Mac or on a PC. Sometimes you have a big search window open, sometimes not. But the second icon in, below the Mac does not have these X's here. So on the Mac, it's on the top, but on the PC, it's the second row. Then there's one right here that if you hover over it, you'll see it says choose a workspace. If you click on it, it'll give you these different words. And you can change the workspace. So you have to, it's like this little box, almost like a little microwave window or something like that. Anyway, so I'm going to click on that and look at what happens to my screen when I switch from Essentials. Now I'm seeing these windows to, I'm going to go back there and click on 3D. See how all my tools the 3Ds actually are being discontinued. So actually just say okay to that. It's just a message. They're going to stop having 3D in Photoshop. So go ahead and say okay to that if you get that message. They're just telling you something. Then we're going to go back over here, and it's interesting because my workspaces stopped working when I got that message. How weird. Window, workspace, essentials. Did yours go gray too and didn't work anymore when you went to 3D? Okay, that never happened to me. Then you can go to graphic and web. And each time you change workspaces, you'll see that all of these windows are very visibly changing for us. But what you might not be noticing is that your tools available here on the left side are also changing. It's a little bit harder to see, but notice, just focus for a second on my screen. Look at, put your mouse, your eyes on this area. Just look at that. And I'm going to go change my workspace. And while you're looking at that, you will see now that when I change to that, see how something shifted here as well? Okay, so this one's easy to see changing, but this one's not so easy to see changing. So I want you to know that depending on what workspace you're in is what tools you have available. So most of you, when you open Photoshop for the first time in your life, you're probably in the Essentials workspace. That would probably be where you'd start. So let's go ahead and make sure that we reset our essentials so that we all have the exact same essentials. So go down here and click on Reset Essentials so that this starts looking the same for all of us. Okay, so now in my Photoshop class, I have people use the photography workspace, but in Digital Design Techniques, I'm going to go ahead and have us use the Essentials workspace just because there's a couple of other tools available that I want to show you from the beginning. All this means when I change the workspaces is what tools I have available to start with, but I can open up any tool I want. It's like saying that you walk into your art studio, and if you are the kind of person that does pottery, does quilting, does oil painting, you know, like a whole variety of choices, it would be crazy if you had all those tools set out on the same table. You probably say, one day I'm going to do quilting, and you put out your sewing machine and you bring out your sewing materials, and I don't do quilting, so I'm just inventing here, and you bring out all your threads and stuff. Well, then you got to put your pottery stuff away, right? And then the next day you're gonna do pottery, you fold all that stuff in a box and you pull out all your pottery tools. So that's kind of what this is all about. But that doesn't mean that if you're doing one, you can't just go pull out the other tools. So where do you pull all the other tools when you need them? Say that I'm in the Essentials workspace and I want some of my painting tools. I can go over here to Window and say, oh, well, I want my brushes that are not available. So I'll click on here and then the brushes will pop up. Okay, so just consider that anytime you're missing something, you can always go to Window to pop up all the rest of the tools that you need. So anytime you don't see something, it'll all be hiding under brushes, under Window. Okay, so now go ahead and open a couple of things. It doesn't matter what. Let's open gradients and see how things begin to change. Then let's go open, just be crazy. Just open paragraph styles and just things, just go to Windows and open stuff, right? Open swatches and things will change. The more they change, the more all of us have a different screen, right? And then it's hard to follow the class together. So after you've seen how easy it is to open new things, to make them, now let's all go and reset, go to Essentials again and reset Essentials so that for the time being, we all start with exactly the same tools. And if your tools look very different than mine, then let me know. Other than that, this will be our starting point for Photoshop. Later, when you understand what you do with Photoshop better, you can open all the tools the way you want and create your own workspace and call it Diana's workspace, you know, Joanne's workspace, and then put out your own tools. But right now, we're just going to go with the basic Essentials workspace. All right. Now, let's go ahead and figure out how this works. Here on the left side, we have our main tools, okay? And Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, they're built in a way that when you learn one, you can more easily transition to the next and to the next, because the same layout happens across all of them. So I'm starting you with Photoshop, but then we're going to go and see the differences or the similarities in the next few. And here on the left side, these can be clicked on. So I can click on this to select it. I can click on this to select it. I can click on this and select it. And notice that as I click different tools, something here keeps changing, right? So when I click on this one, I have, this is the move tool. And if I hover over it without selecting it, then you'll see that the word move tool shows up. You'll also see that it has a little V between parentheses. That's the shortcut to choose my move tool. If I click and hold, if I don't click, if I just hover over this one, it says rectangular marquee tool, and then it has a little M next to it. That means that I can choose it with clicking the M, et cetera, et cetera. So what this means is sometimes it takes longer and you're busy doing stuff to come here and click on something than to click on a letter on your keyboard. So say that I'm on the move tool, right? And right now say that I want to reach the pen tool. Well, go ahead and click on the P on your keyboard and letter P on your keyboard and see how the pen tool has been darkened, or click on the T for text and the type tool has been selected, or click on the Z for zoom and the zoom tool has been selected. Okay, so this is a quick way. The B for brush gives me the brush, okay, and so on and so forth. Now I want to go back to the main tool that I want my mouse to always sit in when I'm not doing anything else, and that's the big front one, and that's the V. So I'm going to hit the V again, and I'm back at the move tool. These shortcuts are the same for all our applications, and all of this means the same thing in all of them. So once you learn them here, and I'll be calling them out, I'll say go ahead and hit the V or move tool, and you can choose whether you hit the V or if you go and select it. But with me reminding you, it'd be a good time to learn those shortcuts by trying to do them, and then that's how they'll become more comfortable to you, and by the end of class you might remember to do them yourself. All right, so with the V selected or move tool, then here I get to choose how to transform that tool. If I now go to the M for marquee, I can transform that tool. If I go to the B, I can transform that tool. So this here is the control bar, it's called. So say that I want a brush and I want it to be a fat or a skinny or a thick or a thin or a whatever brush I want, I'll have to go here and modify it. Okay, so these are the modifiers for the tool that I'm selecting. Right, so I select the brush, and then I go over here and I say, oh, I really want a brush that's smaller, that's bigger, that's softer, that's colored. Da, da, da. So I make those modifications, and then I start using my brush. All right. So that will constantly change. This top thing will constantly change based on whatever tool you have selected. And then over here on the far right, these panels provide us all of the materials, and the most important panel right now is this one called properties, because this is relatively new. It's from the last 2, maybe 3 versions of Photoshop of the Creative Cloud. They've created this property panels across all these applications that we're going to be using. So there's going to be a properties panel in every one of the 3 applications that we're going to be using. And what it does is it guesses at what I need next, and it gives me the choices all in one panel of what's possible to be done next. Okay, so the properties panel is constantly going to change, but it's going to give you, if you don't know where to find stuff, assume that it might be in the properties panel. We're going to start, when we start using stuff now, you'll see what I mean. But for now, I just want to show you the other most important panel that we're going to learn in all of them, but in particular in Photoshop, is the layers panel. So the layers panel down here is what's going to let us do whatever it is that we're going to do to this photograph. Maybe we want to change the color of the wall. Maybe we want to erase the parts of the Coca-Cola logo and leave it just being a red wall. Maybe you want to the little kind of spearhead things, there's one missing. Maybe we want to add the one that's missing over here. So whatever it is that we're going to do this photograph, we can do, and we're going to do it by using layers. Okay, so we're going to come back and do some of the stuff that I just mentioned in a minute. But first I want us to open Illustrator and have a feeling for the workspace, how it's going to be. So instead of opening Illustrator, let's go back to Bridge and open a .ai file, which will then make Illustrator open up. Does that make sense? Instead of opening Illustrator as an application, let's go, and the AI file that I've given us, let's go to this one, the changing order. This is a changing order.ai. If I look over here on the right side in the preview, all it's showing me though is that it has 2 pages. So something we hadn't seen in Photoshop. Photoshop does not have different pages, but I can click on this arrow and it'll show me a little preview of page number 2 or page number 1. Okay, so if I have 10 different pages, I can scroll through those 10 different pages of this Illustrator file. We're going to spend a bit more time on metadata later, but you can see here that it's showing you which colors are being used by this document. We're going to spend some more time with that with color later, but that's other stuff that it's showing you over here. All right, so now we're ready to open it. So double click. And again, it'll take a little bit of time, but it's going to kick open this file. I'm looking at the time. 5. Okay, so it looks like it's time. It's interesting because most of the classes that I'm teaching in the summer are like 4-hour-long classes, but this one that we meet twice is actually much shorter. So I kind of keep going and I forget to do a break. I'm going to set myself an alarm. So let's go ahead and make sure to leave your Illustrator opening up so we will come back from the break. Illustrator is up and running. But we're going to take a break. Actually, let me do one more thing first before we take a break. When Illustrator opens up, if you haven't opened it up yet, you might discover, just like with Photoshop, that it opens up in this mode where it's smaller again. And the whole window gets then kind of confused with what's happening in your Bridge or your Photoshop that's behind it. So hello, what's happening to it's taking its time. Okay, so here's Illustrator opening up. So before we do anything else with Illustrator, what I want you to do is to head over to the right side for the PC people or VDI people and go over to where you see the X's. And again, click on this one to maximize it so that it fills your screen. And then for the Mac people, that same choice is on the left where you have the green buttons, the 3 little dots, red, green, and yellow. Click on the green one for it to maximize. And then now we can, on the bottom, we can see that you can click on the taskbar for PC people or on your dock for Macs, and you can now shift from Bridge to Photoshop to Illustrator, and each time the entire screen is being taken over. And it's the cleanest way to not, because since it looks so similar, if you have both of them there, sometimes you'll never know if you're in your Photoshop or if you're in your Illustrator file or whatever you are. So anyway, right now, let's just do this and then take a break. Here we go. Again, on the left side, you have the tools. On the top, you have some choices depending on what workspace you're in. We're going to switch that, and here you have the properties panel. So as you can see, it looks similar enough. Here's my my workspace, and I'm in Essentials. Let's go ahead and let's reset Essentials to make sure that everyone's down in the same space, because it's possible that you were in another one if you used another one of them in the past. And let's leave it here. I'm going to stop my share and let me give you guys a 10-minute break. What time is it? 7:15. So we're going to break until 7:25 p.m. Okay. See you guys in 10 minutes. I'm going to mute you guys. You can make all the noise you want in the background. All right. It's 7:25. Hopefully my dulcet tones are calling you back to the computer. Come on back. Scalable vector graphic. Thank you, Sarah, for looking that up. So Sarah just put in the chat that SVG stands for scalable vector graphics, which is kind of unnecessary, so to say, in the sense that the whole point of a vector graphic is that it is scalable. So I guess that's why I wasn't forgetting, and I'll explain what scalable is in a minute. Now we're going into Illustrator, but yeah, it's cool. So thank you for looking that up. Is everyone back? Give me a little hand or thumbs up or shake or whatever to see if you're, to show me that you're there. Those of you who don't have their videos on, give me a little emoticon. Okay. Joan, Jean. All right. Cool. So the timing of Sarah of your comment is perfect because I'm about to show you the difference between Photoshop and Illustrator and what is a vector graphic. So you already saw that in Photoshop when we zoomed in to the max, what we did is we got to the pixels, right? And that is one thing I forgot to show you is here's the side of the, so let me look down again. You can just watch this, you don't need to do it. But here's the side of the kettle, which when I go and see it at 100%, it does look like that's a sharp line. The size, the whole edge of this kettle looks like it's a sharp line. I mean, we know that the side of a coffee kettle might be dented because it's old, but it's a sharp line. Same with the ends of these things. But when we approach in pixel format, we discover that there is no such thing as a sharp straight line in Photoshop. At most, the most you can expect is this, sorry, this happens to me sometimes when I click on the wrong, I'm a Mac person. Oh. Okay, my bridge just, thank you, Brissa, for reminding me that I wasn't sharing. But I've got stuck because my bridge just canceled. It closed. The computer just told me I had a problem with bridge and it just closed up. So I was interrupted by that. Yeah, whenever I'm not showing something, and then please let me know. Sorry about that. So thank you for letting me know. So here we have, really, now you're seeing it. An error occurred in bridge. Okay, I'm going to say don't send it. I'm going to leave bridge off for a minute and let's see what's happening. So right now, it doesn't matter. I just have Photoshop and Illustrator opening because that's all I'm going to show you right now. So anyway, see, here's the side of this kettle, and it is definitely not a sharp line, right? The sharpest possibility you might get something a little bit like this, where a whole row of pixels is trying to create the side of the kettle. But if you notice, it's not even right, because over here I have some brighter brown pixels, which goes to dark. So even this line isn't really straight. So the only chance you have for a straight line is if perchance your photograph happens to coincide with a line of pixels that's straight. But for the most part, straight lines are shown by diagonals made up of many pixels. So how straight can a line be when this is truly at the bottom core of that line, a bunch of square lines? Yeah, square items put together, creating that impression of it being a straight line. So here again, I'm on the side of the kettle, and even that side of the kettle isn't really really straight, because we have some white things over there, but then we have some beginnings of some other colors coming in and out. So that's why Photoshop is not the place to ever try to make something that's really tack sharp, a very straight, a very clean line. On top of that, you will learn more as we go through the whole conversation of resolution. As you increase or decrease the size of the image, you can get more or less quality in that line based on how many pixels, a bit the conversation we were having about resolution. So that means that Photoshop is not very good at being a scalable item. Anything created out of pixels or raster based is not scalable. So what does scalable mean? When you want to make something bigger or smaller. Photoshop, when you make something bigger or smaller, to scale it up or scale it down, it becomes it'll take us a whole class worth of me teaching you how to do that correctly. Instead, in Illustrator, if you want to scale something up or down, it's really simple. And that's the whole point of vector graphics. These are lines created really by the computer. And the computer says, draw a line between this point and that point and make it straight, and boom, it's a perfectly straight line. I'm going to zoom in. Go ahead and click to select, for example, this line here, which is a diagonal line. Make sure you have your V or move tool selected. Again, just like Photoshop, it's the V or move tool. And then go ahead and click on, say, this line with the tip of your mouse, and you'll see that you get this bounding box around it. And then when you go ahead and do Control plus, which I already taught you, you'll see that you'll zoom into that one line because we had it selected. And here I'm coming up to that one line. And no matter how big I make it, isn't that line consistently perfectly sharp? There's nothing strange about it. There's nothing that's not. I keep hearing some clicks, and I want to make sure that it's not you guys. And all right, cool. I was sorry, I got interrupted when I was explaining you what's happening. I had someone who was texting like constant. I was going ding, ding, ding. And every time I'm trying to talk, I'm getting a ding in my computer. So I'm telling that person, stop texting. I can't, I'm in the middle of class. Drives me crazy. But my headset just dings really loud. So I was trying to focus on what I was saying and I kept being dinged. So anyway, I'm done right now. I apologize for that. All right, so here I am. I've zoomed in as you know, and I can keep zooming in forever as far as I go, and it won't change. I'm at 6,400, which was where I was before with Photoshop, and I don't see a single problem with this line. I'm going to go ahead and again click Control 0, and that will fill my screen with the image, or Control 1, that gives me 100%. But 100% in Illustrator, suddenly something that is so important in Photoshop becomes kind of not so important in Illustrator. Because in Illustrator, it's always going to be exactly the same. No matter how big or small you make it, it's always going to look exactly the same quality. So I'm going to go ahead and do Command minus a few more times. And then again, I'm going to hold down my space bar to get my hand so that I can just drag around and move things around. So as you can see, the same shortcuts I showed you work. Command 0, Command 1, space bar for the hand, and Command minus, Command plus to zoom in and out. Now the V is my selection tool, and I didn't show you how to select in Photoshop actually, but it is what it does help us move things. And so when you have the V or white selection tool selected, if you go click on something and then drag around, it's also the move tool, just like in Photoshop, because it moves things. Okay, so here we're moving things around. Now in this case, you have to click on the tip of that line to move it. If I click somewhere here in the color, I can also move it. So I'm just moving a lot of stuff around and discovering that this little box was hiding some stuff. Okay, so that's me moving things around in Photoshop. Now, if I were to make this be much smaller or much bigger, so click on this little box here. If I want to make it way smaller, I can grab the corners of this and make it really tiny. And there it is. And then if I want to grab that corner and make it really big again, it has not changed. It is still a perfectly sharp, perfectly good graphic. So if I make a logo in Illustrator, it can work really well if I put it on a small business card, or I plaster it on the side of a delivery truck, or if I plaster it on the side of a huge building, right? You can make it big or small. and it'll always look perfectly good. And that's when you want a scalable vector graphic, when you want to be able to change its size all over the place and have it always look exactly the same and just as good and very easily. So Briss is saying, except for that when you export the design, is that when the resolution changes? So basically with vector files, resolution is not an issue. It's not even part of the conversation. When you export a vector file, it can be made bigger, smaller, it doesn't matter at all. Versus in Photoshop, resolution is a huge part of the conversation when you export it. You're going to export it into a certain size if it's going to go to the web, or a different size if it's going to go to print, or a different size if it's going to be on the side of a, you're going to print it on the side of a t-shirt or whatever, the side of a baseball cap. So each time you create that art in Photoshop, you have to specifically create an export file for that specific need. Okay, so it's going to change with respect to what it needs to be printed on, or where it needs to be published. If it's on the web, it's not going to be printed, it's going to be published or posted on the web. Versus an SVG or an AI, which are all vector files, it doesn't matter, because they're totally scalable. They can be made any size. You can design it this size and then make it that bigger. You can design it that big and then make it this size. Okay, so that's the huge difference between Illustrator and Photoshop. Another huge difference, of course, is that in Illustrator, we're going to be creating things from scratch, versus in Photoshop, 99% of the times you are working with an existing image. Now, I'm saying 99% of the times because sometimes you do also create in Photoshop. There are people who completely paint, you use Photoshop to create art from scratch, okay? My son makes lots of drawings and stuff and art that he uses later for backgrounds. He's a filmmaker and he uses Photoshop with a pen. We were talking about the pen the other day, and he just kind of hand draws things onto Photoshop. And so you can also create things from Photoshop. But I'm kind of, in this class, we're kind of stereotyping each program for the thing that they're best known for and most used for. So for Photoshop, we're going to assume that it's most used for modifying and making our photo better and ready to look as good as it can on whatever place it's going to end up being output to. And Illustrator is where you're going to create something from scratch and then put it wherever it is that it needs to go, at whatever size it needs to be. All right. Now, can you bring in a photo into Illustrator? Yes, you can. You can import a photo into Illustrator, but if it needs to be modified in any way, if the photo needs to have, say, the person's hat be red instead of blue, you have to go back into Photoshop, change the hat to red and blue, and then update it in Illustrator. Okay, so we're going to be showing you, I'll be showing you how to do that. So yes, you can see a photo in Illustrator, but it's not the place to modify the photo. The place to modify the photo is in Photoshop. All right. Okay, and then now let's go ahead and let me see if I can open Bridge again. If not, I need to reset my disconnect from BDI. Let's see what's happening. Is it going to stay? Yeah, I guess it was having some kind of a glitch. Go to my class files. There they are. All right. So I don't know what was happening, but it was okay. So now let's go ahead and open an InDesign file. So you might notice that I give you a lot of files that we're going to work with in Photoshop, but not so many files that are Illustrator files, because those we're going to create. And basically this one file here, and I have one in there that are InDesign files, because again, we're going to create our InDesign from scratch and bring things in from the other places, right? But just so that we have one as a sample, the Creek Poster Final INDD, let's go ahead and double click on that one. Now, if your computer is really slow and is having issues, and mine at this point, since it already kind of canceled my bridge, this is kind of pushing it, but let's see if we can I can open in VDI all of the programs at the same time. That said, normally, I've always told you, we're going to try to have only 2 to max 3 open in general at the same time. Now, InDesign is the one that takes the longest. It's the one that is the program that takes much more than the rest of the time to open. it's, I guess, much more complicated in the background or something. And it usually takes much more time to open than any others. So just so you're not surprised about that. So any questions while it's opening up?
I have a question.
Yes.
So it's a window and says like cannot create a file when that file already exists.
Go ahead and share your screen to see why it's saying that. Most of the times it's harder for me. Sharing screen is the best way because then I
Yeah.
immediately know what's happening. Can create a file already exists? Go ahead and say okay. And let's see why it's trying. Go ahead and say okay. It's trying to create an Adobe permission, ask for folders. Go ahead and say okay to that again. It might still open. Yeah. Yeah, so where you are is fine. This is, I need to tell you now where to be. But yeah, sometimes I don't know why InDesign has these messages in VDI. It doesn't, VDI and InDesign don't get along very well. I'm going to stop your share and stay where they are. I'm going to share my screen. VDI and it always is a bit glitchy, and InDesign is glitchy and VDI sometimes. All right. So when I'm trying to open this file, as you saw with Brissa and you see with me, we are going to be getting some messages about what can or not be worked. But I forgot about this. I worked on this file on my computer the other day to put it in here, but I have a newer version of InDesign. I completely forgot about that. So mine is saying InDesign cannot open Creek Poster Final because it has been created a newer version. Okay, you can convert and open this file, but you may lose out content. It's okay if that's what you got. Let's see what it shows us. Go ahead and say convert file, if that's the message that you got. Those of you who are working on your own InDesigns at home, you will not have received this message. You will have others about fonts and stuff. So hold on to that. Meanwhile, let's see if it lets me convert. I don't know if it's gonna let us do it. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to take that file down and resave it for those. So I'm gonna cancel. That's not gonna work. Actually, I think I have. Let me open. The problem with poster final. Don't update links. I'm gonna save as VDI's versions of the programs are always a couple of versions older than the versions that we have if we own our own equipment. And I forgot that I created this file for us to use and that I didn't save as again. So let me cancel and save as, because I have it open on this side. So I'm actually okay, so I need to okay, how many of you guys, it's only 2 of you on VDI right now, right? The rest of you, were you able to open the file even though you get messages about missing things? But you have messages say you're missing fonts and stuff like that, right?
What, Deanna, what was the name of the file you're trying to open?
I'm trying to open this one, Creek Poster -final.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and Kristen, you're saying no. Can you tell me what's happening in yours? Hold on.
Sorry, I just wanted to unmute you. I tried to take a screenshot of it to paste it in chat, but that doesn't allow me to
No,
do
you
it.
can't put images in.
But it does say, I'm trying to get back there.
If it says that it's missing links or fonts, that's fine.
It just
That's
says
where you
don't
need to be.
Yeah, it just says don't update links or update modified links.
Yeah, so that's fine. That's what you should be seeing. And that's what I was going to refer to. What surprised me is this other message. So let me drag it in. It's only going to affect people on VDI. So I already updated it. Okay, so now let's go back to, okay, so let's go ahead and who's on VDI right now? Just Brissa and me and Natalia, right? Those three of you guys. All right, so watch. I already updated. I put a different file in here that we can open. So go over here and click on this PC for a minute, just to clean up the work just for VDI people, and then click again on download class files. And a new one is up there that I just put up. And see how down at the bottom, one says INDD, one says IDML. Okay, this is a good time to teach everyone what IDML is. So actually, it's not a bad thing that this happened. As you just saw, one of the problems with all of these files, not just with InDesign, it could have happened with Photoshop, and not so much with Photoshop, but with Illustrator. When a file gets created in a newer version of the program, and you send it to someone who has an older version, they can't open it. You just saw that happen. So when you need to share your file to people with older versions, you need to save it as an IDML, which is this one that's right here. And it's kind of, if you have like things that are special to this new version that the old versions don't have, it's gonna have affected it. But anyway, so Brisa and Natalia and whoever else is on VDI, which I believe it's just us right now, go ahead and double click and open the IDML instead of the INDD. Double click on that one, and I'm gonna do that too.
Yeah, I got it. It opened.
Good, and now it'll open up. Now we should still be getting the messages that Christian is getting, which are the ones that say, oh, well, I didn't get it, which is interesting, but you should be getting a message saying that you don't have updated files or stuff like that. I'm going to stop you share. Christian, can you share yours so that I can show people what to do based on your example? Because of what I did, I'm not getting that message myself. So
Yes, but I already clicked the button to update the link. So now I
Oh.
have this, now I have the document.
all right, don't next time. That's a learning. It's a,
Okay.
never mind. I mean, I'm not trying to say don't, but it's a big learning. Whenever we get those kind of messages, I want to teach you what those messages are.
I
Okay,
can
so
share mine.
you have them.
can
Okay, Joan, go ahead and
Yeah,
go
I'll
ahead and
share
share me
mine.
yours. Yeah.
Okay, wait, I've got to, oh gosh, I've got to get back to this just a second.
Yeah, InDesign never wants to work too well for me in VDI. I might have to, whenever I teach this class, I might have to show you my Mac InDesign because the VDI has always been a problem.
No, I don't think I can do it. Sorry.
To share what? Share your screen?
Yeah, because I can't find it now. To share the screen because I'm
okay.
on different things. Sorry.
Okay. For now, okay, just everyone, if you see messages that say update, whatever, just go ahead and say no or yes. It doesn't matter right now. It's just that if you say update, it might go find something that, just say okay. If it says it's missing font, just say okay to that and just kind of ignore, don't update, don't change links. Right now, it does not matter too much. We're going to be, once we get into doing our own stuff, I'll show you what that means. I just can't teach you everything in one same day. I'll teach you what all those things means once we're there. Okay, so here I have this file that's open. And this is an example of a little flyer. Now, I don't know if you see the rulers
You
on
need
your
to share.
screen.
You need
Oh.
to share.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And
for
I'm
reminding
sorry,
me.
but did you say update or don't update?
Go ahead and don't say don't update.
Okay, thank you.
It'll still show you, it should be showing you something similar to what I am showing you. The fonts might be off, the positioning of things might be a little bit off. That's fine. But if it's looking very different than what I have, then let me know. But it should be about ish this. And if yours opens up in a position where you're seeing it very little or very big and you're seeing only a portion of it, remember the same shortcuts, Control or Command 0, fill your screen, okay, minus, et cetera, et cetera. So go ahead and use the same, oh God. This VDI does not like when I use InDesign. It kicked me out. It's okay. In there again. It doesn't take as long this time because I was just in there. It's just, it's very glitchy. Let me stop my share while it's reconnecting because it connects faster if I'm not. Okay. It's getting there. Hold on. It's just very glitchy for me. Okay, there it is. Ready to. It doesn't like in InDesign, it doesn't like in VDI doesn't like my shortcuts. It's always been weird. All right, back to here. So this is an example of like a flyer or poster, a small poster. And in case you guys don't see the rulers up here, go ahead and go to view and go into this, should say show rulers. Okay, now I don't know if you already have your rulers on automatically or not. I can't remember, but if you don't see them, say view show rulers like that. And if you see them, then life is good, you see them. By the rulers, I mean these numbers up here. Okay, so now that you see the rulers, you can kind of get an idea that this is about an 8.5 by 11, right? So basically letter size piece of paper. So it's a little mini poster or a flyer. Okay. The setup of this image is this kind of, we're going to create something similar to this. We might even be creating this one, but what we do here is we start with scratch with an empty page. Then we bring the photograph in from Photoshop that we might or not have worked in Photoshop to make it better. Did you guys post? Something says this is the message, but then I don't see anything else in the chat. Oh, Christian, you wrote to me directly. That's why no one else can see it. Okay. When you write to me something in the chat, you guys, try to always write to me to everyone if it's in a question or something about the class so that everyone can see it. If you need to tell me, you know, my stomach hurts, I'm gonna bow out of the class or something, that's fine. Just go ahead and use it personal, but otherwise write in general. Otherwise, no one knows what I'm answering. But anyway, I don't even know what I'm answering because it just says this is the message and then it stopped. But you told me in person it was the whole update, don't update, so that's fine. I just thought you had another message for me. I'm like, what's up? All right. So here we imported a photo from Photoshop that we might or not have taken our time to fix in Photoshop. And we might have not had taken our time to set it to the right resolution. This is why the whole resolution conversation is important that you read the handout so that we can really understand this conversation next week. Okay. To be ready to work well for an 8 by 11 or 8.5 by 11 size piece of paper. In this case, I think the rest was created here in InDesign. I don't think we brought anything in this example from Illustrator, but we could have had a logo here from whatever this nature company. I believe the final piece here usually has a little logo here that we would have created in Illustrator. And then down here, we have a little block of text, which was text that was brought in from a Word and RTF document that our client gave us that we needed to set up. Okay, so this is the place where it all comes together. Right now, we're not going to explore too much of the piece, but we're going to explore the tools again. We're here on the left side, as you can see, is the main set of tools. And again, if you use the shortcut T, it'll go to text. If you use the shortcut P, it'll go to pen. If you use the shortcut V, it'll go to the initial black V selection tool, just like the other applications. And over here on the top, we have the different workspaces. So again, if you're in something other than, let's choose essentials. But again, as you can see, just like before, when I start changing different ones, a lot of different things start to change. A lot of different possibilities and palettes happen depending on what you choose. So we're going to go ahead and start with essentials and then reset essentials. Now, I believe you probably all have this one set this way already because I believe most of you have not used InDesign before. If so, is this what you're seeing, what I'm showing right now? Okay, so as you can see, it starts with CC libraries and down here is the properties. So I'm going to click on properties and this is that same properties file that if I, the window, these are called palettes or windows. And if I go to Illustrator, here's the properties one. If I go into Photoshop, here's my properties panel. So this panel is now the one where, for the most part, we're going to find just about all the things that we need to use tend to be in this properties panel. And this is new for all of these. So those of you who've used these programs in the past, you might not be aware of the properties panel. All right, back to InDesign. Another thing that you'll see in all of these is the CC libraries. So I'm going to click on CC libraries right now, right there. And I'm going to go to Adobe Illustrator. And here we're going to find the libraries right there. And then I'm going to go to Photoshop and I'm going to find the libraries right there. Okay. And here we go. Here's my libraries. For some reason, this one isn't resolving itself. There it is. Here's my libraries. Okay. So when you have your own subscription, right, to the to Adobe Creative Clouds, one of the things that you get with that purchase of that subscription, apart from space on the internet to put your files and stuff like that, beware with that space because it works, it's great, but be careful if you put stuff online that if you at some point decide you don't want to pay for anymore, make sure to download everything you have so that it stays on your computer before you disconnect the subscription, right? Or something like that, like when 6 months are over or a year is over, because then you won't be able to access your space in the cloud anymore. If you save things to the cloud, I would always tend to save things on my computer so that even if my subscription happens or doesn't happen, my stuff is still with my computer. But anyway, I just wanted to say that in the libraries are something that is really useful, especially for people in this class. I just did something without telling you what I did. So let me show you again, because I don't want to mess things up. What I just did is I wanted to show the libraries a bit bigger. I think I left you guys in InDesign, right? Back to InDesign. Up in the cloud, your subscription has a space for your libraries. And what that means is that, say that you have created a special logo. We don't have a logo here right now, but we have this word nature. So go ahead and grab and click and select. Make sure that you're in your selection tool or V and select this word nature. Okay. And say that you want to be able to this exact word with the exact font, does this kind of stuff. And you want to be able to put it in your Illustrator file. It would be easier if we had, let's just do it with Illustrator where we can use one of these elements as if they were a logo. That might make it a bit easier to show you it. So grab this green box that you have here, this big one. And let's say that this is a special logo or something. And I want to put it into Illustrator, into InDesign. So there's a way to import into InDesign, and we're going to be importing most of our stuff, but there's also a way to save things that are exactly right. Say this is something that's exactly right, the right color, the right everything I want. I can go ahead and create a library. Okay, so I have a Digital Design Techniques library here created already, and I'm going to click on it. But those of you who don't have that created, so I'm going to back out of it, you just have to create a new library. So go ahead and say create new library, click on this plus sign, and call it Digital Design Techniques. Okay. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, when I see you kind of looking up at me or something, I'll know it's done. So say that you're working on stationery on a business, a particular business, then you create a folder, you create a library for that business. That would be one example. Or you could be a project. Maybe the project is your, memoirs book or something like that. And so you create a library for that book. So in this case, we're creating one called Digital Design Techniques. Okay, so does everyone have that Digital Design Techniques created? If so, click on it and you won't have anything in it right now. Now we want to put this exact box in there. Let's go ahead and just drag it over. Grab it and just drag it and drop it in there. And here it's just popping in as artwork 1. Okay. These are colors that have been put in there in the past for other classes. This is some other stuff, but right here we dropped in that little piece of artwork. Okay. So now let's head over to Photoshop. Now it's going to be a little bit different because that was a vector file that we just put it in there, and Photoshop is a raster place. But let's go and click the libraries panel, and you should be seeing there the library Digital Design Techniques. Is it there? It's possible that you still need to get it to talk to each other, but I saw Christian saying no. How about other people? Do you have it there or not?
No.
No, I don't.
Browse. Let me see. How can I make you guys find it? Search libraries. Go to search and put Digital Design Techniques
Oh, now I got it.
and see if it works. It might just be taking a little bit of time because you just created it and it's kind of beginning to.
Yeah, it just appeared for me. So
It just
Yeah, it
appeared.
appeared.
Okay. Yeah, it's just taking a little bit of time. Plus you guys are on Zoom, which uses a lot of the, internet resources. So it'll start appearing for everyone. So now go click on it and you should see artwork 1, right? Now, it doesn't even show you what artwork is in this case. So sometimes it doesn't, but let's just grab it from here and drag it onto this piece. And here it appeared. Without me having to guess at the color, at the size, or at the whatever it is that I've created, it appeared. Now I'm going to go over to InDesign. I'm going to go to Design Techniques, and I'm just going to grab them here and just put it in here. Same thing. And again, I'm always have issues with InDesign. Here it is. And here it shows up.
So I'm kind of lost, unfortunately.
Yep. Let me stop my share and you can share your screen. So I just wanted to show you how by putting things in the library, what you're doing is you're putting that element up in the cloud, in the Adobe cloud, available, that when you open any application that you want that same thing, and this was just a box, but it comes out ready with its exact color, its exact size, its exact black stroke, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So again, say that, I'm going to let you share your screen now, but say that you have a logo that belongs to this business and you are putting it in many different projects, then you get to do it this way. All right, so click on Digital Design Techniques. Oh, here. Okay, you have it there. Okay, so grab that green box.
I actually,
Yeah, grab the green box and just drag it into that right column that's empty right now, but just drag it on.
okay, wait, I gotta get rid of this.
You're fine.
I can't see
Go ahead and
stuff now.
say skip. Go ahead and down to the bottom and say skip to that bottom.
Oh, skip. Okay. And then I've got all these.
That's okay. That's just ignore it. Ignore it. Trust me. Grab your green box and drag it onto that gray area.
This
Now
one?
it's yes, and keep going and let go. There it is.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So that box there was telling you start by putting something in there, and you did. So now it disappeared. Okay.
Okay. And I
All right.
actually wrote Digital Design Techniques in both my this is Illustrator, but I also did, gosh, this is the wrong one. In InDesign then.
Okay, well, ideally, it's one same library that you can access from all different places, okay? So you're in InDesign, did you not open a file in it yet? Go ahead and
Yeah.
say, oh. it
I don't
looks
know
like-
what happened to it.
Well, go ahead and say new file, and then it doesn't matter that it's empty, just say new file. Go
Okay,
up
so
to
where's that?
new
Oh,
file.
here we
at
go,
the
new
top,
file. Uh-huh.
And then
But I haven't
say,
opened it before.
go ahead and say create. It doesn't matter, go ahead down to the bottom right and say
Create, yes.
create. You
Mhm.
just, it'll just be a blank page with whatever default settings that you have.
Yeah.
So it should pop in a second. Things are always slower when you're sharing your screen, but are you on a Mac or on a PC? I can see already. Yeah,
On a
you're
Mac.
Yeah, you're on a Mac. I just needed to look at your screen. All right, where is that thing opening?
It's still doing that.
Why are you not? You're not opening a new file. Do you have Illustrator open? There it
There we
is.
go. There it is.
Okay, so now go to the CC libraries up there, which you have layers,
Uh-huh.
pages, properties, libraries. There you go. And so you can close those windows. Yeah. So there's your DigitalDesignTechniques folder, and it might need to first refresh because you just opened it, but or go back because you did create a different one. That's the only concern. Go back on that little arrow that says DigitalDesign. No. DigitalDesignTechniques.
one?
Click on that arrow. Yeah, because you might have two now. Yeah, you have two. You should. You
Okay.
basically create one. So this is the one. Yeah. So the one that works is the bottom one. Go to that one and then delete it. Go down. Yeah, right. Get the top one is the one that's one too many. Go to the top one and right click and delete. That way you
Okay.
don't have to. Go to the right one.
This
right-
is the bad one.
Yeah, but right click, don't delete it from here. Go back to it. Go back
Okay.
and
Uh-huh.
then right click on that. Yeah, right click
Okay.
and delete.
Delete that one. Okay.
Yeah, that way we, yes, it deletes, so it's not confusing. Okay, so now go to the one. Yeah, so you guys, you don't need one in each, you just create one. Okay, now grab that and drag it out. And you've brought it into your InDesign document.
I see.
Okay.
Okay.
And then click and let go, and there it is. Okay, so all I'm trying to show you right now is the utility. We're not moving anything in particular, but the connection between these programs, the same if you go to your Photoshop and go to libraries, don't create a new one, go find the DigitalDesignTechniques ones and then drag it out. All right. Okay, I'm gonna stop your share because it's working now. Anyone else for
Thank you.
whom this did or did not work? If you want to give it a try. Nope. All right, so give me a yes if it worked for you.
Yes.
Yeah, you're going to discover how awesome this is when we get to colors. Up until now, I was always teaching people with colors how to handle them the old-fashioned way and leaving them on your computer and how you create that and the rest. But now with the libraries, as you can see over here in my example, let me share my screen now. And you guys haven't done it yet, but in my example here, I have some swatches, which are just colors, right? And so it's not like I'm going to drag this out because it's just a color, but it could be a color that I now can use in order to bring into this document. And it's exactly the same orange that I can bring into this one and into that one, which before was a complicated issue to find the same information. So we're going to be using that. I just wanted to show you because libraries is something that in the past I have not taught because we couldn't really use the libraries in the school version, but now the school version is accepting it. So that's good. Yeah, Sarah, you have a question?
Yeah, when I put the green swatch into the InDesign, I
Mhm.
got a little blue box that said, do I want to enable the Illustrator shortcuts?
That's, and you just dragged it in, that's all you did?
Yep.
I haven't seen that message. In VDI, I see that message, but in real life, because just dragging it in, you didn't do any shortcut. All you did was drag it in. Oh, wait a minute. No, this is something created in Illustrator. Go ahead and say, I mean, you need to have them connected. I'm guessing here, I would say yes, but it's a guess. Because you want to make sure all the same shortcuts work for both, but I'm not 100% sure what it's trying to ask you to do. So that's my
Okay.
best guess.
I'll
All
say it.
right. Okay. Joan, your hand is up. Yeah.
Yes, I have another question. So you have all the names of the programs on the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, because
Can I do that with Mac too?
No, in Mac, what you do is you have your, let me share my screen. Let me share which desktop, this desktop. On the Mac, what you have is you have a dock. And so here on my dock, I have my InDesign, my Photoshop.
Okay,
I
that's what I've
only
been
have-
doing, yeah.
So, yeah, so you don't have the name, you just have the icon that takes
Okay.
you to one to the other. Okay,
Thank you.
so it's a little bit different, but yeah. Back to the PC version. Right there. Okay. All right, so nothing that we did today is new, but I want you to show me as much as you have done. So go ahead and give me a screenshot of, for example, this creek with this big green box on top and your library. So you can do a little, because it's almost time to be over. So I'm going to just show you the kind of thing I want to make sure that you've been, following through. Go ahead and do the Mac people Shift Command 4, and then just give me a little screenshot like this so that I can see that you're using your library that says DigitalDesignTechniques, and you put this thing in the middle of this box. Or you can do it for your Photoshop. You can do this with your Photoshop, whichever one. For example, Joni didn't have her art, but you can do it in your Photoshop one or something like that. And then one of those choices, let me go and give you guys the link again to the Padlet. Here we go. It's again in the chat. Go ahead and click on the chat and then post it here. Now, remember, if you are on a PC, that instead you need to go down to get the snipping tool. Okay, so go ahead and start writing the word snip, open the snipping tool, and then say new. And then when everything kind of goes up, you can click and drag across this so that I can see your library, and then just save the file to your desktop or something like that. And then you can post it that way. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save as. And you can give it a name or not. You can throw this one away afterwards. It's not something you need to keep. So I'm going to just go ahead and save it on my desktop so it'll be easy to find, and say save, and then you can close it. And then for people who are on the Mac, it's going to be that file that you snipped is going to be in your for sure on your desktop automatic, just by doing this, the short screenshot it's going to be. So there we go. Joni already upped her, so I'm going to go ahead and remember to put in your name. So and then if you want to, if it's work for the day, it's fine if you put like June 2nd or something like that, or explain more about the file, what you did. And there's nothing original about these. It's just what we're doing. But you might have done something special or different. You might want to write something about what you did. But this is just kind of classwork, okay? And then hit publish, and it'll just pop up. So I'm seeing my son. So this is me aware that you guys are doing the work. So if you have to do this during the week because you're following the class but not doing it, then whenever you get it done, please post it so that I know that you're moving through with the class, okay? Let me head back to VMware. At this point, when we want to, so next week, we're going to start working specifically with files and creating and changing, but this that we did, we don't want to save. The only thing I wanted to show you in Photoshop, go back to the Photoshop version, is that in Photoshop, this box that we dropped out appears as a second layer. I hadn't really talked about layers yet, but it already is appearing as a second layer. So we're going to get a chance to work with that. And I also want us to save this file now as something new. That way you can see how to save files. That way you've already gone through saving a file. So this is actually a layered file now. Layered file means it's not just the flat background that it used to be. It has a layer on top of it. This means that this photo cannot be a JPEG anymore. It started as a JPEG. See how it started up here? The name, it says hi pass old kettle.jpg. That's the name of this file. Well, it's not possible to be a JPEG anymore because I have a new layer, and JPEGs can only be flat files. Flat files meaning nothing. If I were to make this a JPEG, that green box is going to flatten on top of the kettle and it will obliterate it forever. Versus now, I can still move this around anywhere I want. and change its position, make it disappear, do whatever I want. So I want to keep it layered so that I can keep working on it. So I need to save this as a Photoshop document. I need to save it as a PSD. So I'm going to go ahead and say File, Save. And when I try to save, it'll go, no, can't save because it's a JPEG. So even if I say File, Save, it's going to forcefully open up the Save As. The first question it'll ask you, do you want to save it to the cloud, which means the Adobe cloud, that same place your libraries are going to. And I kind of don't recommend saving up there unless, but I mean, you can, but if not, save on your computer. I save everything on my computer, so I'm going to say save on your computer. And then for people who are doing this on your own home computer, go find wherever you want to put it. Maybe you want to put it in the same class files. Maybe you have them in your downloads. Maybe you have it wherever you have your files. Now, for VDI people, this is the only part that's a little bit different. For VDI people, we need to go back to that Google Drive. Okay, so go to Google Drive. And you cannot save it again in the shared files. The shared files are the ones that I give you to work with. But for you to save your files, you're going to have to save them in this place called My Drive, which is your personal drive. Okay, so go to My Drive to save the files, double click My Drive, and then we're going to create a folder. I think we created it last week called Digital Design Techniques Summer when I see it there. But in case you didn't create it because you weren't working on it with us yet, Brisa, go ahead and create a new folder up here. And then create a folder called Digital Design Techniques Summer 1. Okay. And then when you open that, then you can save there the high pass old kettle. As you can see, it is already changed into a PSD. Now I might want to add to that name something to make sure that it's different, which is I'm going to add dash library sample, because basically that's all this one is. And so now the name has changed a bit and it's a .psd. And now we can save it. So if you guys are saving into the same folder that it opened up from, it'll have the same name, but it'll be a PSD. So it's not going to overwrite the original JPEG because it's a new file. Maximize compatibility, always say okay to that. And now we can open this file next week and keep working with these layers. Okay. So once it's been saved, you want to close the file. And I'm aware that we're a few minutes past the hour. So remember that I had asked you guys if it was okay to go for an extra 15 minutes because I had to leave early the other day. So I'm wanting you to know that if you need to leave right now, please leave and then watch the last 15 minutes of the class. But other than that, I'm going to go until 8:30, and I forgot to remind you at the beginning. So just to have us catch up with what I didn't finish on Tuesday. So we can close this file by going up here and clicking on this little X right there and getting rid of it. Okay. And then Photoshop is still open. Now notice that now that you've opened something in Photoshop, some of you might have already been using Photoshop for a while, but if you haven't, then now you have at least 1 and 2 files open, because the first one is the under the recents. Now you have the latest file that you opened, which is JPEG, and then the one that you opened that you created, which is the PSD. So you should have a minimum of 2. Those of you who have created other stuff and done other stuff, you probably have other stuff here that you've been using in the past. But we have these 2 that we did today. But now we're done with Photoshop. So we can head over here to the top, and on the right side, we can close it for PC people. For Mac people, go find the word Photoshop up here on the top left of your screen, and you can click on that and then go down to quit Photoshop. That's how you would quit the program completely for Mac people. Now I'm closing up Photoshop. Now I'm not going to close yet Illustrator and InDesign. I just wanted to stop having 3 programs open for the last part of it. So and I wanted to show how to save files. Again, for people who have the VDI. Yeah, your hand is up, Joan. A question?
No, I just forgot to stop it.
Oh, okay. So I'll lower your hand. There we go. All right. So now that we are in InDesign again, okay. Or at least if you're not, please go to InDesign again. Over here, we have, let's go back to the properties panel right there. Now, at least in my case, I still have a selection around this box that I had just dragged on. And I selection, I mean, you can see all these little handles and stuff. If I now click somewhere in this gray area, that selection went away. And I see your hand right now, Jean. Give me a second. I just want to show you the properties panel. Okay. So with my mouse, make sure you have it selected, the V selection tool or move tool. I'm going to click here in the called pasteboard. This pasteboard is this extra space to deselect everything. And then I'm going to go, while I'm watching my properties panel, I'm going to go select this box again. And you see how the properties panel changed? It's going to give me now whatever is possible for me to do with this box. So it gives me the transform, the appearance, the align, the wrap. So it's giving me a lot of boxes that I would have to open each one individually before here under window. But now it goes, oh, if you select this box, these are all the things you can do with it. Now, if I click in the pasteboard again to deselect, it goes back to not having that stuff and giving me only things that I can do with a document because nothing is selected. Now, go and select this nature right there. And again, it's just giving you other boxes that are different than before. And you click again, it goes away. So it just basically the properties panel is constantly changing based on what you have selected. I'm going to do that again in Illustrator, and then I'm going to take questions. So same with questions in Illustrator. I'm going to go to the properties panel. It's showing me this. If I select something, now it shows me other stuff. If I deselect by clicking in here, it's showing me something else. So I'm just trying to show you, it would have been the same in Photoshop. Like it's, and I'm forgetting the word right now. There's this word that I always say, and it's gotten away from me right now, which is basically adapts to.
Intuitive?
No, there's a technical word for this, which I'm completely blanking on. But it's not intuitive, but it's similar. It's basically based on your needs, right? So anyway, let me enter some questions now. And while you guys click on different things and see how this changes. Yes, Jean, you have a question?
Yes, I was just not remembering how to post onto the Padlet, but I think I just dragged a screenshot in. Is that correct? I think I dragged the wrong
Yeah,
file.
no, that's fine. You can also drag. I've always showed you how to go find, when you say plus, I've shown you how to go click on this icon and then open it and drag it, open it from your window. But you could also, if you have your files open on your desktop or something like that, and let me share my entire screen. So I'm going to share this entire screen, my whole desktop right now. So say that this is your desktop and you have a file here in your Finder, and you know that this is the one that you want to share. You can also just go ahead and drag it in, right? Like that. And that works too. You can just drag it in and drop it in there. So if you know where to find it, then that works as well. Okay. Or you can click and go find it. Both ways work. So I'm going to cancel this one because I don't want to post twice, but yeah. And then I'm glad that you posted this, Jean, here. I want to show you something. See how the InDesign file isn't showing up for me? Let me share just this screen so it's easier to see. So Jean here posted an InDesign file, and it's not something I can see. What she did is she dragged the whole file, the whole Greek poster file. So if I try to see her work, I have to open it up. I have to download the file, and I really don't want to have to download a bunch of files from you guys to see your work. So I really don't want you to send me Illustrator files or InDesign files or Photoshop files. I really want you to post the screenshots here. Does that make sense? Now, if you're having issues with a file where you're trying to do something and you want to share the file with me so that I can open it up so that I can help you with, that's fine to put the whole post the whole file here. And email me and I'll tell you, why don't you just post it and I'll go look at it, and then I can download it and try to open it and see what the problem might be. But in general, I don't want to be doing that. And I don't want anyone else to, we don't, believe it or not, this is one of the ways that everyone can pass viruses to each other. Not the COVID virus, but computer viruses. So if I'm gonna be, if anyone comes here and downloads this file and Jean's computer had a virus, then if someone else downloads it, they might get that virus. So I recommend not downloading things from here. Just post a quick screenshot and that's all. So I'm so glad you did that, Jean, because I had forgotten to say that. And this gives me the perfect example. So this is gonna happen with Illustrator, InDesign, Photoshop files on their own. When you put them up here, they will be, it's a good way to transfer files to someone else, but it's not a good way to download it.
So does it allow me to take it off, or only you can allow to take it off?
You can download, you go over here. I won't do it for you. Hover over these 3 little dots and you see that it says edit, and you can click on that. And then you can click on that and then say delete post. I'll let you do it. You can delete your own post. Yeah. And then it'll disappear for all of us in a little bit once we refresh. Okay. Cool. Oh, it's still there. I hope someone else posted theirs. All right, great. Let me head back to my VDI. All right. And then here, this one we messed up with this document, and this is a document that we're going to work with later. So in this case, instead of doing a new file save, what I want us to is to not save this file. Okay, so we're going to close this one. Again, we can close it going over here to the change order. Now, if you just close Illustrator without closing your internal files, then next time you open Illustrator, this will open up again. And especially if you're on VDI, that's a problem because it's going to go and bring the corrupted file. So you want to always not do, if you're done with it and you don't close it, next time you open Illustrator, you don't need to see this. Why do that? So close your internal files first before closing the program. So now we're going to close this one by clicking on this little X, but then we're going to say save changes. We're going to go, no, don't save changes on this one. So that next time we use this file, we get it fresh and clean without having any of the changes that we just did to it. And then we get to the welcome page of Illustrator, where once again, here's the last one that we worked on, and here are other files that have been worked on. And then you can go over to the top and exit and close out of your Illustrator. And then we're down to the the InDesign class or file. And in this case, one more thing I want to show you before we're done. One quick little thing I'm going to show you is that in InDesign, each one of the elements tells you if they came from somewhere else or if they were created here. So if you look at the word nature, there's just this little blue line around it. We're going to talk about what that is. You look at this here. There's nothing in particular around it. So it shows that it was created in InDesign. But this box was brought in from somewhere else. And up here on the top left, it has a tiny little cloud. See that little teensy weensy icon? That shows you that it came from the cloud, from the Adobe cloud. And that's because those Creative Cloud libraries are in the cloud. Versus if you look at the top of this box that holds the forest, the trees behind it, you see a little link, like a little chain link. Okay. That shows you that this is a file that is linked to the place it came from, a file that's in Photoshop. And over here in the download class files, I have this image right there, that Creek JPEG. So I'm in Bridge now. See this photo called Creek JPEG? This is that file. This is that file. And if I'm not sure about that, if you click on that, notice that it says placed. I can't move. It says I'll click to open the links panel. Placed files, Creek JPEG. So basically it says this is that Creek JPEG file. Now, if I want to do what it says, which is I'll click to open links panel, I can do that. You can hold down the Alt or Option key and click here, and it'll open the links panel. And here it opened up. Or if you don't want to, you can go up to Window and open the links panel this way and click on the web links. Either way, it opens the links panel. And so what this is showing me is that this document, it's a document from InDesign that has 2 links. So it has the artwork that came from the cloud, and it has the creek.jpg. Okay, so those are 2 elements that have been put in this document. and that are linked. And what this means, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, and then we're going to be done with this class, is that if I go back to JPEG, if I need to give this file to someone and I just give them this and that's it, it's not enough. They're not going to be able to use this file because this isn't a file on its own. This file, see over here, it has some links. And when I send this file to someone, I also need to send them this one. And if this file also has a logo, then I also need them to send them the linked logo. Does that make sense? It's like they all have to come together. And so I'm going to teach you how to package these files for when you're done. And maybe you brought in 5 elements, 2 logos, 3 illustrations, some text. All of this stuff gets packaged together, and that's what you send to people to keep working on the file or to the printer or stuff like that. So when you have, so this is a link and this is a link, and these need to be sent to whoever else is going to do it. The InDesign document on its own is not enough. Unless you embed the files, that's a whole nother conversation. We're going to teach you about that. So anyway, now you can, now that you see the links file, if you're done with it, you can click on this little icon link and close it again, and then open it and close it from here in the future if you want. And that's showing us all the things that are linked into our file. So now let's go ahead and grab this, and we're going to do a file save as well so that we can keep working with this guy next week. So we're going to do file save as, and we're going to call this one Creek Poster, and instead of we at the end of final before the INDD, we can say dash library as well, just so that we know we brought in the library element. And again, I'm on VDI, so I'm going to go to Google Drive and then select my drive and then select Digital Design Techniques Summer 1, and then I'm going to save it right there. Okay, and then you guys get to save yours wherever you are saving, but now I can close it. And now I can close InDesign right there. And now Bridge. Okay. And then for the rest of you guys that have the stuff at home, you're done. But for VDI people, we have one more step. You need to disconnect from Google Drive. So click on this little arrow down here. Open up Google Drive using this little icon. Open that up from there. Okay, Brissa, you following me? Then you
Yes,
have
I'm trying to close the.
close the programs first.
Yes.
Okay. When you can, go over here to Google Drive, click on Google Drive, and then it's finding the gears twice. We click on the gears and we go preferences. And then we find the gears again and disconnect account. Okay, so gears, disconnect account, disconnect account. I won't be doing this at the end of every class, just now at the beginning, because I want to remind you that this is what you need to do. In the future, we'll finish class and then you have to disconnect this way. And then when it says sign in with browser, that means that you're ready to go, because the next time it'll be ready to sign in. So while I finish this up with Brisa and anyone else who's on VDI, the rest of you guys, I'll see you on Tuesday. And please don't forget to read the handout on resolution. If you want to read any others about, Illustrator, Photoshop, you're welcome to, but please read the resolution handout. And if you have any questions about how to get, I will record this class. I will put it in link in that document, but I'm not going to send you the recording of this class. You need to find it yourself. Use the videos I've given you to find it. If you still can't find it, email me. I'll help you again. But you need to get accustomed to finding the link to the recordings yourself. Remember, the recordings are always available the day after the class. All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys. You're welcome. See you next
Nice
week.
night.
Bye.
Bye. All right. And then if you have more
Diana?
questions, please hang out. But let me first close out here.
Okay.
So let's finish closing out with Brissa. Are you here, Brissa?
No.
Did you sign out of Google
Yeah.
Drive?
Yes.
Then you have to go down to the start file, go to the power, click on power and shut down.
Settings.
No, not settings, power, click on power.
Okay. Yeah.
And then shut down.
Mm-hmm.
That'll shut down the computer, and then we need to wait because we still need to disconnect from VDI. So hold on, we're almost there. So now you're shutting down the computer. You haven't disconnected, say close. And then now we're still connected to VDI. So up here at the top, you're going to go to where it says the word Horizon and find that final icon, click on there and say log out. And are you sure you want to log out of VDI? Say okay. And now we're back to the beginning. So we're ready. Now we're done. Okay.
Oh, okay,
All
thank you.
all right. So yes, Joan, you had a question?
Oh, I think I figured it out, but when we're working with our own Adobe Creative Suite, do I just save it to my own place on my own computer?
Yeah, wherever you have your files, you can save it back to the same place that we're working. Like if you have them in the downloads or desktop, or you might want to create a new folder for the stuff that you make, your choice where you choose to save your files. But yeah.
Okay, so I have a question though. Okay, let's see.
Yes.
So I want to make sure that I have done this right.
Yes.
So can I just share my screen?
Yes. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, I gotta find you.
Mhm.
Computer, okay, just a second. Okay, here we go. Okay, share screen, share.
Okay.
So does this look right, this nature page?
Yeah. Perfect. You brought the icon
Can I
in,
just,
and yeah.
I'll just save it.
Good to
Okay.
save as, because we don't
Yes.
want, if you save it, then this saves over the original, right? By doing a save
Yes, I
as,
save as.
we
and
create
that's-
a new one that we've altered. Mhm. And then you can change the name
Okay.
to add at the end of the word final, you can add the word library is what I added to mine, just because we added a library element or something like that. You can put green box, whatever you prefer,
Okay.
and
great.
then save it. And yeah, you have these things twice. So choose one and then you can delete the other one.
I just
so
want
you
that
don't-
one.
Okay, save it in that one. Mhm. Cool. And
Okay.
now you can close this one. Oh, on the Mac, the X's, that's true. On the PC, the X is at the right side, on the Mac is on the left side,
On
yeah.
the left side, and that's the opposite on everything.
Yeah, yeah, like
And then
there,
I go to InDesign and say quick design, quick design.
okay. And someone is there someone called Tan in my class? No. Someone just entered the waiting room that I don't recognize, so I'm just not gonna admit them. Oh, Jin entered. Let me let her in. But okay. All right. So, hello.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, Jin. I see that you just joined us, but we're actually closing up. The class just ended. So I'm not sure if you got the time wrong or what. Or if you're just joining us because I said I'd rather you join for a little bit. Can you write to me? Since I know you don't speak to me. Because I'm closing up here right now.
Just come up in my head, and I didn't see it on the calendar, so I missed it.
Oh, okay. Well, the class today we did quite a bit. I'm going to put the recording up on the link for the recording. You'll have it tomorrow morning, so you can review the recording. Okay?
Did you open the canvas?
Did I what?
Did you use canvas?
The video camera,
No, the canvas. The canvas.
the pen,
The canvas.
the canvas. No, I
You
don't
know the
use
Canvas?
Canvas. Yeah, Canvas. You mean the application Canvas? No, we don't use Canvas for this class. Mm-mm.
Okay, now I understand why I didn't show it.
No, I use that for my credit classes, but not for my non-credit classes. I don't use Canvas.
Okay.
Sorry. So no, I send you an email.
Canvas.
Yeah, I send you an email with a link to the class, and then I send you emails with all the class information and the handouts and stuff. So yeah, but not through Canvas.
Outlook, that kind of things. Outlook or Google Calendar.
Say that again.
We use Outlook or Google Calendar.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to use Canvas. So don't Google
No.
Canvas. Oh.
It's something else. It's Google Calendar. How do you schedule
To the Google Calendar, I don't put the class in Google Calendar. No. So you basically need to know that it's Tuesdays at 5:30. I don't put the links in the Google Calendar. I email you. So if you look at your email, both your personal email or your school pipeline email, I send you the link there. It's the same link always anyway,
Okay.
but I send you there. But this week I've sent a lot of information. I sent you links about how to get to the class recordings and things. So
Okay.
go check your emails from me. I mean, look at your emails. I have your the pipeline email, and I have a Gmail for you that's susu1223.2003. So that email and your pipeline email have been receiving information from me. Okay.
Okay.
So go check the emails, and if that's your email, you should have it there. And then you have the links to the class recordings and everything. Okay.
Okay.
So, but today we did a lot. We opened Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign. We worked on Bridge and stuff like that. So please make sure to watch the recording. And there's homework. There's a handout that I gave that you need to read. So please watch the entire class and do the work.
What's the link for the handout?
The same place that I put all the handouts, which I showed you. Again, I think you need to read all your emails because I showed you there always how to get to the handouts. You need to
Okay.
go to the pipeline Google like this. You go to your pipeline account and you end up in your Google Shared Drives in your Digital Design Techniques folder. Here's where I have all the handouts. And I need you to read this handout. That's right here. And I need you to watch the whole recording. So, and in the recording, I showed you how to get to this one and how to do it. So we'll just watch the recording and you'll be able to do that. Okay. And then in the Padlet, I'm going to need you to post the work that we did today, like these people did. So you do that during the week. Okay. Check your email. And if you have any questions, email me. Okay.
Do you post on the YouTube?
What's that?
Do you post the things on YouTube?
I post them on YouTube,
The-
but to a private link. And then the link is over here in the handouts. Let me show you again in the handouts.
Okay.
When you
That's
go to the
good.
handouts, you'll find right here, if you double click, you'll see that there'll be a link. This is the link to the first recording of last week. And then tomorrow morning, there'll be another link here and it'll be the recording of today's class. Okay. If you click on this link, it'll take you to the recording of last class, Tuesday's class. And if you click on this link that I'm going to post tomorrow morning, you'll have it here. That'll be the link for today's class. And you find this inside of the DigitalDesignTechniques shared drive. I showed everyone how to get to it last class. But I also have sent an email recording reminding people how to get here. So if you look at the email, you can click on a recording showing you how to get here. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So check your email and follow all the links and watch all the videos, and then you'll be caught up for next Tuesday. Okay.
Can you send me the link on Zoom so I can click it on directly? The link for Google Drive?
Send what link?
The link to the Google Drive.
Well,
Like that link's over there. Like if you can send them to me.
you have
like,
to sign into it. So yeah, so let me show you. And by the way, the class has been over for half an hour. So I'm doing this extra. The class is from 5:30 to 8:15. Okay. I happen to be waiting and answering some questions, but here we go. You go to SBCC, you click on pipeline, you sign into your pipeline account. Okay. I'm showing you how to get to the handouts. You get here and then you go to student resources. And then here you have Google Drive.
Yes, yes.
And then here under shared drives, and in shared drives, you will have Digital Design Techniques. It's right there.
Oh,
So open it up, and here all of this will be there. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Awesome. Thank
Okay.
you. I'll
Thank you.
see you next
Bye.
Tuesday. Okay. There's stuff you need to read. So bye.
Bye.